Infatuated with the in-between, the ups and downs, the curves and the rounds. I'll bring it to your city or your hometown. I'll go back in time when the feeling was fine, when funkin' was legal and it wasn't a crime. Party people lined up and down the way, a bigger celebration than your birthday. Funkin' up the neighborhood, I felt the fool 'cause the funkin' was good. Funkin' in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood, funkin' up the neighborhood. I felt the fool 'cause the funkin' was good. Funkin' in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood. And I have seen the world pristine, funk you up in the bushes, funk you down in the trees. Now look around, all the frowns, the yellow, the white, the red and the brown. And keep in mind, it never costs a dime, 'cause funkin' is free, I remember the time. Now look today, the streets are gray, time to take it back to yesterday. Funkin' in the neighborhood, I felt the fool 'cause the funkin' was good. Funk you in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood, funkin' up the neighborhood. I felt the fool 'cause the funkin' was good. It was good in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood. Funkin' up the neighborhood, I felt the fool 'cause the funkin' was good. Funk you in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood, funkin' up the neighborhood. I felt the fool 'cause the funkin' was good. Funk you in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood, funkin' up the neighborhood. I felt the fool 'cause the funkin' was good. Funk you in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood, funkin' up the neighborhood. I felt the fool 'cause the funkin' was good. Funk you in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood.
Oh, and we're live! And we got one too many people on the screen there.
Messed up all the aspect ratios.
Oh, the joys of being live. Welcome to the Underdog Journey. I'm Wes. This guy is David.
No, you got to start it over. You got to start it over.
I got to start all over again.
Goes.
And we're live! Welcome to the
There
Underdog
we go.
Journey. I'm Wes. This guy is David. And the guy that
And
was
we're
here on the
back.
screen is going to be our special guest this evening, David. Nobody knows that he's here yet, but how you doing?
I'm doing all right. I had a little bit of travel today. I'm looking right out there is the wonderful world of Niagara Falls. So, after the show tonight, I'm going to go walk around, find something to eat, definitely find some more to drink, and go take a look at the falls at nighttime. Unfortunately, I'm on the U.S. side, so I can't get a great view because everybody knows the best views are actually from the Canadian side. But,
Sure.
I
Better
think
Cuban
here
cigars,
by
too.
the end of the summer, probably by the end of the summer, I'll have it sorted out where I can go over there and just take a look. Hi, Kelly. Nice to see you out there. If you guys are watching, drop in, say hi, let us know you're there. Like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the YouTube and Facebook stuff that you're supposed to do.
All the fun stuff.
And all the fun stuff. So we have a guest tonight.
We do.
Who is Wes let me know earlier in the day that there's a kind of a pirate theme type thing going on. So he said, well, what should we drink? And we're going, well, I'm going to be drinking rum. He calls me and said, I'm going to be drinking rum. And I'm like, well, damn, I'm not going to be left on the island by myself without rum. So I ran out and got some rum. Do we have guests already? Do we have our
Well, we
live
already
studio
have
here?
some of our live studio audience here. This is
Excellent.
I was wondering if Mom and Google down here.
Oh, you don't know where your mom and sister are? They're probably outside.
I think.
Go. They're probably out back. He lost the rest of his family. Okay, so we have random orphan children wandering around my house. But yeah, David. So you were talking about drinks. Sorry.
I'm talking
Always
about
talking
why
about
all
drinks.
the rum will be gone. And tonight I went for a dark sipping rum from Diplomatico.
Nice.
And I got to remember which end of the camera is on here. It's so far I've only had a couple sips of it, but it is quite tasty. This is the Mata Uno or Montawana, whatever. It's the Moana rum. The Moana rum.
The
Yes.
Moana of rums.
Drinking the Diplomatico Moana rum.
You're welcome.
Which is, Moana's a nice Disney movie, so it goes with what we're topic is tonight.
Exactly.
So it's pretty good, as you can see. It is a dark rum, and you made a mixed up drink tonight.
So I made a pretty good drink tonight. So you guys heard of Moscow Mules, which is vodka, lime, and ginger beer, or an Irish Mule, which is my favorite, which is whiskey, ginger beer, and lime. Well, I decided to make my own with rum. So I have rum. I got some Kraken here. I got Krabby's ginger beer. By the way, if you haven't had Krabby's, this is delicious ginger beer. I would drink this just by itself.
Really? Text that over to me because I'm looking for a good just a straight up good ginger beer.
Krabby's is where it's at. And then some pineapple juice. So rum, ginger beer, and pineapple juice together. I call it a Caribbean Mule. Caribbean Mule.
Nice.
So it's pretty delicious.
The Caribbean ass.
It is very strong. That's what I've been called. So it is very strong, and will get me into trouble tonight, I'm sure.
I get called that a lot, but usually they leave off the Caribbean.
Exactly. So.
But you got other news.
So Kelly Clay asked me if Kirsten made my drink for me. No, she didn't. She is watching the kids right now, probably in the yard. I don't know. They're lost. They're wandering around somewhere aimlessly.
She's watching one of the kids.
She's watching one of the kids. The other one's,
Wait. We presume that she's watching one of the kids.
We hope she's watching one of the kids.
At max, she is watching one. She is going to slap me the next time she sees me.
Get used to it.
A few weeks ago, before the show, we were talking about candles. You remember this?
I do.
So we were talking about candles, and I'm not going to give the name away tonight because the guy, actually, I'm going to see if I can get him on the show. But I've got a contact that makes candles. So the Underdog Journey is going to have three, count them, 1, 2, 3, custom scents made.
Wow.
I'm waiting on one from Wes. He's got to give me feedback, but I've got two. Is going to be the pipe tobacco that you gave me.
I like it.
It's a real sweet, so you get the smell of it and the aromas. And if you've ever been somewhere after somebody smoked a really nice sweet pipe, you know that, man, that's just a great smell.
It is.
I get it. It's not for everybody, but for people who want it, man, it's really relaxing, and you can sit there and be like, that's good stuff. And then the other one is a bourbon leather vanilla.
Nice.
Candle, because that's what I was trying to match. That's the candle we were talking about.
Yeah.
That all of a sudden our Facebook feeds and emails and all this stuff was like, hey, Amazon says you'd like to have a candle. Here's some candles. Would you like some cucumber watermelon? No,
Right.
no, thank you. That's not what I'm looking for.
It's one of those situations, we're not listening to you, but here's exactly what you were talking about 10 minutes ago. So, yeah.
Yeah. We didn't type it in any kind of search engine. We didn't do anything except literally just talk about it. And it wasn't on the show. It was before the show. So there was no transcribing or any of that going on.
Uncle Zucks is always listening.
Exactly. So yeah, Google was listening. And wait a minute, I said the name. It might turn the phone on.
Yep. See, you can't. Don't do it.
So, yeah. So it's not like we're going to have a black lacy doily for these candles to go on. It's just going to be just the candles with a logo on it. And we'll probably think of some pretty witty names. So down in the comments, two of the. So we're going to have a sweet tobacco and a vanilla leather bourbon scent. So if you guys have some weird names, drop them down in the comments. Let us know, and we'll if we pick yours, we'll give you a high five or something.
Yeah, there you go. It'll be interesting. We'll send you We'll send you a candle. So it'll be interesting.
Candle. It'll be a whole thing. We'll put out a spread. It'll be nice.
All right. So
what's going on in the world with you, Mr. West?
Well, pretty excited about tonight's guest. So, I don't know about you, David, but growing up, you see these big Hollywood films, and you go to Disney World, Disneyland, all that stuff, and you see all the giant custom made stuff just everywhere, and all the VFX in these movies that somebody had to have their hands on to build all this stuff, and it's just so amazing that you're like, you can't imagine like a person doing this, right? So what little kid doesn't want to grow up and do exactly that? Like, it's just mind-blowing. And to come across somebody that actually does this for a living it's like finding a unicorn. So without further ado, I did find a unicorn that has a pretty sweet mohawk. And we're going to get him on the screen here. There we go.
You just called him a unicorn.
Steve, you're a beautiful unicorn.
Thank you, sir. I've been called worse.
Well, in a text earlier, Steve called me a scabby nippled sea slug. So I don't know how he knows about my nipples, but Steve, keep to yourself.
I just call it as I see it, Wes.
You and my wife have a lot in common.
It sounds like there's story time to be had here on the Underdog Journey. So, Steve, you are. You know what? Give the folks at home just a quick introduction of Steve, and pronounce your last name so everybody has it right.
All right. Ahoy, you soggy sea dogs! I am Steve Cotroneo. And I am currently a sculptor at Walt Disney Imagineering. But I've had, as Wes knows, I've had kind of a crazy ride. I started out very young, getting into the entertainment industry, doing special effects for movies. That led into some theme park work, which eventually led into Walt Disney Imagineering. And I've been there since 1997 now. So 25 years as one of the lead sculptors and designers in a department called Dimensional Design at Imagineering. So yeah, so that's what I'm currently doing.
So is that based out of Orlando, or where are you based out of?
We are based here in Glendale, California.
Okay.
But Imagineering has like satellite shops all over the world, wherever we have parks. So we have, we're in Shanghai, we're in Hong Kong, we're in Paris, we're in Florida. But the biggest concentration and the main campus for Walt Disney Imagineering is right here in Glendale. And it's still one of the original locations that Walt Disney established. So there's some very famous photos of Walt Disney and Mark Davis and a lot of the Disney legends standing right where right in our shop where we work every day. So it's pretty crazy. It's pretty surreal to think that, we're still carrying on the tradition and walking right where those legends walked. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Wicked. So what was the original name of the Imagineering? Because there was a term they used before they came up with Imagineering, and I don't remember. My wife, absolutely, she's watching right now. I guarantee she's over there shouting off the couch.
It was called WED Enterprises.
That's it.
And WED was just Disney's initials, right? Walter Elias Disney.
Wow.
Was his initials. And so in the 50s, when Walt Disney got the idea to build Disneyland, to build this, this awesome theme park for families, he had to basically create a crew that could design and build this theme park, because nothing like that really existed. There was some other theme parks, smaller ones, and Knott's Berry Farm was already established, and some other theme parks, but not quite to the level of what Walt Disney had in mind and what he imagined. So he had to create his own department, which he called WED, and assemble this team of people who were going to design and build this theme park. And now, throughout the years, I think I think it was mid 80s or early 80s, it changed to Walt Disney Imagineering, and that's obviously still the name.
It's very cool. So there are very few jobs that I would say, all right, take everything I've done for the last 25 years and just chuck it, and I'm going to run off and join the circus. And being an Imagineer at Walt Disney is literally like the only one that I would say, yep, I'm out. Peace, I'm gone. I'm going off and doing this. I mean, it's just cool.
Yeah, that is a dream. Cool. That's a dream job. How did you?
It's crazy. It is very cool to be part of these amazing projects, and these awesome attractions that entertain people and bring so much happiness and stuff into this crazy world. So it's very rewarding in that sense, where we get to create this art and these attractions that people get to really enjoy. Did we lose connection?
No, you're there.
Oh, okay.
Just a little fuzz there. West leaned. He turned his head. When he turns his head the wrong way, the whole thing just goes awry.
It's the metal. Metal plate.
I thought that was the rum.
It's
yes.
That's exact. It's You're not blinking out. It's the rum.
When I open the bottle of rum, I got to open it with my teeth.
That's right.
So Steve, how did you land at Disney?
All right. So do you want kind of the whole backstory?
You know what? Yeah, let's start from the beginning. First of all, how'd you start in VFX?
All right. So, and I'll try to go through this as quick as I can, because of course it's a long, crazy story, but I'll make it short. But I grew up in the 70s. I was a monster kid in the 70s and 80s, really inspired by all the horror movies, Alien and Jaws, and of course the original Star Wars trilogy. And I was super inspired by Ray Harryhausen. And all of Ray Harryhausen's amazing stop motion animation monsters and stuff. And
just
as a kid,
I have to interject right there. Sorry.
Go for it.
If West did not warn you, I am just the king of interrupting with little fun tidbits. For those Disney fans that are out there, did you guys catch that? From Monsters, Inc., the restaurant where they made the reservations was Harryhausen's.
That's right.
From Monsters, Inc., from the old 70s. So, I mean, there's a lot of tie-in that people don't get. But go ahead. I'll
no.
the rest of it.
And you're absolutely right. And in fact, Pixar would not even exist if it wasn't for people like Ray Harryhausen, who paved the way for that style of animation, because even though those characters were created with computers and were digital, the same principles still apply to the animation, and those were all the principles that people like Ray Harryhausen pioneered. So no, that's a really great segue, and it's awesome. And I can't give enough credit to Ray Harryhausen and guys like him. So anyway, I was mesmerized by special effects as a little kid, and I had no idea how this was done. And I found out about Ray Harryhausen, found out what he was doing was called stop motion animation. And believe it or not, in 1983, when I was just 11 years old, there was a college course being offered as a summer class near my house. And my grandma called and said, hey, my 11-year-old grandson wants to take this college course in stop motion animation. Would you even allow that? And they were like, well, is he a knucklehead kid or is he pretty responsible? And so anyway, she talked him into it. And next thing I know, I'm taking a stop motion animation class, college course at 11 years old. And that was sort of my first taste of movie magic. That's really like where I was like, oh my gosh, this is how this stuff is done. But
very cool.
But in my little tiny kid brain, I still didn't really know how all this movie magic was done. I was thinking, oh, is everything done with stop motion animation, or is there more to this, right? So I continued to try to learn on my own. And I mean, as you guys know, this is long before the internet. There was no YouTube. You couldn't just go on YouTube and look up tutorials and figure out how to make stuff. Like there was Fangoria magazines for horror nerds, you know, and there was a couple makeup effects books, and eventually in the mid 80s there was a few VHSs that came out on how to do like special effects and stuff. But man, there was nothing out there. You really just had to experiment on your own. And so I started kind of learning stuff on my own, figuring things out. And I just had this passion for it. I was just going absolutely crazy trying to learn how to make these monsters. And then through a crazy roundabout way, I actually met a special effects artist who had a shop right there in my hometown in Whittier. He invited me up to his shop. And I was like starstruck, losing my mind, just freaking out. He had props from so many iconic movies. It would have just blown your mind. Stuff from Star Wars and Blade Runner and King Kong and Nightmare on Elm Street and Evil Dead, you name it. He had props from all these movies in his shop. And I'm just like, oh, like just freaking out, right? And
did you start to say the words Evil Dead?
Evil Dead,
yes.
Like Boomstick Evil Dead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he worked on Evil Dead 2 and had tons of the props from Evil Dead 2. I mean, tons of stuff, man. It's endless. And maybe later on in this show, if you want me to get into some crazy stories about my first boss, it'll blow your mind, the prop collection that this guy had and how most of it was stolen. And that is a very scandalous, crazy story that I'll have to tell you about. But anyway, that's getting off track. So I started working at this effects shop. The guy just saw this passion in me. He knew I was like on fire to learn this stuff, and he just let me apprentice with him. And so I ended up working with him for about 4 years. I became the shop foreman. I became his main guy. It was kind of cool. He was what's known as a physical effects artist, where he's not doing a lot of like makeup and creature stuff. He's doing more props and physical type effects, hand props, visual effects and things like that. And so the first movie I ever worked on with him was Phantasm 2. And we created all the flying spheres that stick in your head.
Dude,
yeah.
That's still that is probably, you know, a lot of people talk about, you know, oh, this movie from when they were young, this is the one that got them, this is the one that had them wigged out and so on and so forth. And Phantasm, the Phantasm series, that was the movies. And that little silver orb, gee, many Christmas. You show me that thing,
he's got one. That's awesome.
Flash that little silver orb. Yeah, right there. Yeah. Oh, man. Yep, I'm done. God, that was, and now I'll look back on those movies. I'm like, wow, they were so well written and so well done. And you know, knowing that you had, you know, a hand on the effects of it is just phenomenal to know that you scared the hell out of me when I was young.
Well, thanks. I mean, that was my very first movie. I was just a little knucklehead in his shop trying to learn stuff. So, you know, he would just tell me, go do this, go do that. You know, he showed me how to make molds and cast stuff out of plastic and, you know, paint things and stuff. And I got to help make all of those different flying spheres for part 2, which is really cool because part 2, we had about 5 different types of spheres that killed people in all these different imaginative ways.
I remember.
We ended up making like 70 different spheres for all of those shots. It was crazy.
Wow.
Anyway, so I was really into the art side of stuff. Like I wanted to be a sculptor and a painter and do that kind of work. And my boss, again, was more into like the engineering and the physical side of stuff. So we sort of complemented each other really well. It was cool. Like, we were kind of a cool team. And so anyway, for 4 years, I worked with him. And then my little brain grew up a little bit. I got a little older and realized, this guy has a very bad reputation in the industry and is a very shady character, and I need to move on. It was a great start. It got my foot in the door. He has a special place in my heart, and I still owe him and that experience. Definitely, the start of my career. It was amazing. But I realized I needed to disconnect from that scene. It was a very sketchy situation working for that guy. And that's some more stories we can get into some other time. But anyway, so from there, I did what's called shop hopping. And I jumped around in the industry. I worked at a ton of different effects shops. I even opened up my own effects company with a business partner for a while. We had that going for years. And then I think, Wes, me and you were talking about this a little bit, but probably right around when Jurassic Park and Terminator 2 came out in 92, 93-ish, the industry realized, hey, we can do all this stuff with computers now, and we really don't need as many practical effects anymore because the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park and the crazy stuff in Terminator 2 was really successful. So unfortunately, by mid-90s, there was not a lot of work anymore for practical effects artists like me. So I made a difficult, but I think ultimately really smart decision. And in 96, I decided to jump out of the effects industry, not fully, but jump out of it and dive into the theme park industry, where I became an art production supervisor and lead sculptor for Islands of Adventure for Universal Studios Florida.
Yeah.
So that was one of their parks out in Florida, and it was a really cool park. It had a lot of great theming and stuff. And I was working for one of the main shops that was doing a lot of the theming and the big mechanical equipment and sets and props and everything for all of the rides and attractions at Islands of Adventure. So I was there for a couple of years sculpting and again being the art production guy. And through that job, I met somebody that was working at Imagineering that said, hey, we're working on this insane project right now called Tokyo Disney Seas. And I don't know if any of you guys know about that park. Yeah, it's really weird. There's so many people that don't know about that Disney park. It's
my wife again is screaming off the couch right now. She's in central New York. I'm completely up in Niagara Falls. She's
and
over
you can
in
hear her.
Syracuse. I'm over north of Buffalo, and I can hear her. Wait, honey, what was that? I can hear her right outside.
So it's called Tokyo Disney Seas.
Yeah, so
Never heard of
it's
that.
it's the opposite of Disneyland. It's Disney Seas, and every attraction there is based on water, based on the ocean or rivers or something to do with water. And I'll tell you right now, if you are not familiar with this park, look it up on YouTube, look it up online. It is, in my opinion, hands down the most incredible Disney park that's ever been created. It is unbelievably beautiful, awesome attractions, just amazing. So anyway, we already had Tokyo Disneyland, and now they wanted to build Tokyo Disney Seas. And a lot of people probably don't know this either, but those are the only two Disney parks that Disney actually doesn't own. Disney does not own those parks. Those are owned by OLC, the Oriental Land Company, which is a huge land developing company out in Japan. And they obviously had enough money to hire Disney to design and build them their own original theme parks. And so that's how Tokyo Disney Seas happened. And what was really cool for us is, in a sense, the sky was the limit. There was almost this endless budget where we were all allowed to finally do our potential. You know, there was no budget restraints or anything like that was keeping us from creating the most amazing stuff that we could create. They were literally just like, go all out, do the craziest attractions you could ever create, and make it the most amazing theme park ever. So
now were those parks? I'm sorry to interrupt, but were those parks? Were they done under the Eisner years? Were they done under the Michael Eisner years?
Tokyo Disneyland was, and Tokyo Disney Seas. God, that might have been the tail end of him, or it might have been after him.
Right at the crossover.
Yeah. I'm so bad with all those dates and stuff, but yeah, I think you're right. I think it probably was right at the tail end of that. They had already been designing it for years before I ever even showed up at Imagineering. They were already doing concept art and everything for it.
Oh yeah.
I showed up at Imagineering in November of '97, and the models were already well into production. And so I jumped in and started working on all the models, all the attraction models for Tokyo Disney Seas. And then eventually we had to build the full-size production pieces, like the actual stuff you see in the park and on
Steve,
the attractions.
I can't tell you how much I love the fact that you're talking with your hands and you got this big-ass mug.
Heck yeah.
Coming up and he's like, I'm building all this stuff. And I come in, guns blazing, and he's got the mug in his hand. It's just awesome.
Well, I have to ask.
Well, you know, not only am I Italian, but I'm a pirate, so I got to talk with my hands. You know?
Exactly. Steve, I have to ask, did you make that mug?
No, I didn't. I didn't make the mug, but it's an awesome handmade. It is a handmade wooden tankard from. Oh gosh, I can't remember. I think from Poland.
Oh, that makes it even better. That's awesome. Because honestly,
Yeah.
I'm going to show some photos very soon of some of the stuff you've worked on, and your skills are amazing. So everybody watching, if you haven't heard of Steve on YouTube yet, check out Steve's YouTube channel, Grimwood Hollow, where he actually walks through step by step on how to make things, from scratch. He actually has videos on some of his movie props that he made. I mean, Steve, your skills are ridiculous. Now I know you've been doing this stuff since you were 11, but like.
Well, thanks, buddy.
You're a genuine artist with some of the stuff you create.
I graduated high school with a guy. His daughter is now into this stuff, and she does like the visual effects on like Halloween costumes and things. And
cool.
So I just pinged him and said, hey, you guys might want to tune into this because I think your daughter will find this absolutely entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the rest of us. I feel bad every time I'm like, ooh, I want to say something because I'm like, no, I want to keep hearing more.
Well, no. Please, look. I'll tell you guys right now, man. I ramble on and on and on and on. I love talking about this stuff because I'm a total nerd about it. And you
need to be a stable guest on this show because literally that's what we do.
I was gonna say, I think Steve, you and David have a lot in common. Steve, you and David have a lot in common. You both tend to keep going until somebody stops you, which I appreciate.
Yeah, we can do it. Let's do this.
It's on, man. Challenge accepted.
Exactly. So, Steve, before we move on, so I have to ask. You mentioned in the like around 93 or something, around the time Jurassic Park came out, there was sort of this shift away from practical effects into a lot of CG stuff, right? Have you noticed since The Lord of the Rings came out, which was a number of years ago, but maybe more since then, have you noticed sort of a renaissance in a hybrid with practical mixing with CG to like a greater extent than you saw during the Mummy Returns era?
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, there's still not enough practical effects work to keep us all going, but you're absolutely right. There's a massive resurgence in practical effects thanks to directors like Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah.
Who he is a believer in practical effects and a cheerleader for that art, and he always tries to incorporate a lot of practical effects, but balanced with CG stuff where you just need it, and I think that's always where it's most successful. When you try to just throw nonstop, constant CG stuff in people's face, it pulls you out of the movie. It really feels like you're watching a video game, you know?
Oh, totally.
I got 2 words here. Transformers 2.
But I'm bummed. Well, I have a
I haven't
different.
even seen.
I actually have a slightly different. On the flip side of that, maybe too many practical effects without CG being there to sort of assist them. Here's a good example, and Steve, tell me your thoughts. I'm sure you saw it. Netflix's Dark Crystal. So the practical effects were amazing. It was a great series. However, the faces were very flat. They were very puppety. And had they just incorporated a little bit of CG to sort of accentuate some of the facial movements that should have been there, I'm voguing. What are your thoughts on things like that?
Well, here's my thoughts on that. The original Dark Crystal
Was a
one
masterpiece,
of the
in my
hugest
opinion.
inspirations for me. Like, I love that art. I love it, right? I love Brian Froud's designs, and I still loved all of the artwork in this new series that they did for Netflix. For me, personally, my biggest issue with the new series was the story. I felt like the story didn't grab me as much. My mind was wandering a lot, unfortunately. Like I felt like it was beautiful to look at. Like the visuals were unbelievably awesome. There was so much amazing artwork in there, both practical and digital. But I felt like the story was just rough. It just kind of, I don't know. It just didn't grab me. And so that was, me and my wife both sort of felt that way. It just kind of, the story lagged. But I didn't have a problem. I actually felt like they did a really good job with a balance between the CG and the practical stuff. I feel like they used CG where in the olden days, they would have used, matte paintings or composite shots and, different types of what are called optical effects back in the days to create visual effects. And now you can do that all CG. But so they were able to fill in the blanks and really bring it to life with all of the computer animation stuff. But I really actually appreciated that they kept the puppets practical. I think you're right. Like for today's audience, right? Because I'm talking to you as a guy who's about to turn 50, and I grew up with practical effects, and I love that stuff, right? That's what I grew up on, and I still that's what I gravitate toward. I love that stuff. But for today's audience, I think I have to agree with you. Like, I think they expect more because they've seen more. And I think that maybe just a little bit of digital enhancement here and there over some of the practical stuff can sometimes work okay. But at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of examples out there where they actually did practical effects and then they did computer animation over the top of it and completely ruined it.
I agree.
Where the practical effects on their own probably would have been 100 times more successful than going over the top of it with a bunch of cartoony looking computer graphics that, again, just sort of pull you out of it. It's such a disconnect when you're watching a real world to then see something that is animated and obviously animated.
And clearly,
it pulls you out of that.
Right, Battle Angel
So
Alita with
Steve-
the giant weird
so
eyes.
Steve, so Steve, every podcast we have a couple of live studio audiences that come down and wish us all good night before they head off to Never Never Land.
Hi.
So
Hi.
this is Lachlan and the Princess Callahan.
And this is
Carnahan.
Catherine and Lachlan. So they like to come down and say
That's what
hi.
I said.
And,
Hey, you guys!
I like
So, do you
Toledo
like-
Mom's soul.
Hey, do you like his green mohawk? Do you want to get one of those, Lach?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess my son's
Hey,
gonna get a green mohawk now.
Lock,
I can cut your hair for you.
This guy's gonna cut your hair. Is that okay?
I approve of this haircut, Lachlan. Highly.
I'm rolling away. Okay.
Have a good night, you guys.
All right.
Exit stage left even.
Good night, guys. Thank you, Snagglepuss. Who else got that reference? Okay.
Oh my God! I honestly didn't think anybody at all was going to get that reference. But there
I know
you have it.
Snagglepuss.
Oh yeah.
So
I used to watch those all the time.
I have my current wife, wife number one, making a shirt that says phraseology that I'm trying to wear
Yeah.
on the podcast for next week. Because last week Wes dropped the word phraseology, and I called him out on it immediately. Like, dude, that's not a word. That's not a word. I'm like,
Don't doubt me.
Nameology from Boondock Saints, and so I'm looking it up, and it turned out that phraseology is an actual word.
Don't doubt
And
my
I had to be
vocabulary.
pro on the internet because of that word. So now I need it branded. I need my scarlet letter phraseology.
There you go.
On my shirt for our 100th episode. So
That's awesome.
I
There you
want
go.
phraseology, a colon, and then the definition underneath it, so that everybody knows that I was completely wrong. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen.
So
you need to make a drink called Crazyology. Invent a
Crazyology.
drink.
David, buy that URL right now.
Wes, you're off the show. Me and Steve got this from here out.
You guys, he's much better at this than I am. Much better. By the way, David, buy that URL right now. Crazyology. So, Steve, I have to ask you,
On it.
what exact
Yes,
your
sir.
day to day at Disney? What do you do as an Imagineer?
Well, times have changed, as you guys know, with COVID and everything that's been happening over the years. So at the beginning of the pandemic, a number of us who do digital sculpting were working remotely. And there's a handful of us that still are. Our campuses have reopened, but they're still kind of limited. They're doing what's called a hybrid schedule right now, where you go on to campus maybe a couple days a week, and then you're still off at home for a couple days working. But I am right now, currently, I'm doing 100% digital sculpting. So I'm staying at home right now, working remotely 100%. So right now, my day-to-day is I get up and I just work on my computer and I do digital sculpting for the different attractions that we're working on right now.
So,
Uh-oh.
new attractions, you say?
What? Uh-oh.
Yes.
So
all the Disney nerds just went, tell me more.
tell me more about these new attractions. Is there
Well,
anything that you
Don't
can...
give away the farm. Don't give
Well,
away
don't
the
get fired.
leave
Well,
them-
don't get fired.
Always leave them wanting more.
What can you tell us about you getting fired?
Sure. Well, to tell
That
you the
sounded
truth,
reassuring. I would rethink this before you say the next words.
I'll just blame it on the rum,
There-
so then I can't get in trouble, right? Because it's the rum talking.
Yeah,
right?
Bob-
Hey, right here. Why is all the rum gone?
Right.
Bob Chapek would totally buy that. He'd totally buy that.
So to tell you the truth, most Disney fans find out about what I'm going to be working on before I even find out what I'm going to be working on.
David's
the
wife.
hashtag- The hashtag current wife is actually headed out, and I think it's September, to D23 out in your neck of the woods at the D23 Expo.
Oh yeah.
Which is the expo that's for people who don't know, that's expo every 3 years that the dedicated and endeavoring Disney nerd has to make it to, because that's the event that you get. It's only once every 3 years. So the D23 happens this year. It's out in Anaheim, and I'm sure they're going to have a great time. And all I can say is thank God I'm not going.
Yeah, we're part of D23 every year because we are literally the main design firm of Imagineering that designs and creates all the attractions. So we're kind of one of the showcase departments at D23, where we show off a lot of our current projects and even past projects. So like, for instance, oh God, what is it? 10 years ago now, when I was sculpting all of the designing all the rock work for Cars Land, I sculpted a 20-foot long scale model to design the entire rock work for Radiator Springs Racers. And we put that on display at D23, and I was there with our project manager, Kathy Mangum, and we were answering questions and stuff for guests. And we also had a lot of other models and things on display. But every year, every year we put models and sculptures and different things on display for current projects that we're working on. So I'm very familiar with D23 and but so
yeah,
right now I'm working on I'm sure you guys all know Splash Mountain, right? At Disneyland.
Yeah, of course.
So are you working on the redesign of Splash Mountain?
Yeah, so everyone knows
That's cool.
by now we're doing what they call an overlay or a refurbishing of the ride.
Yeah.
So the ride track, the facility is all going to remain the same, but we're completely retheming it to
It's a
be
rethemed new storyline.
Yeah, it's all going to be the Princess and the Frog storyline now, and they've already gone public with that and stuff. So
So
right
it's
now,
very public. It's been a thing for all the reasons that we will not go into on this podcast.
That's correct.
For all the reasons that we will not go into on this podcast, they are retheming. And to be honest, while there are some things that I think they should always just leave alone, like It's a Small World. I mean, you can't touch that. There are some things that just stay. They are mainstays. The Carousel of Progress, things of that nature. You just have to leave them be.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Behind the times, yes, but rebranding, renaming, and we talk about this a lot. Is going where the business is, and don't get me wrong. I don't agree with everything they do, but this is one that I can say. All right, it's time.
Dude, I'm like,
time.
Believe me, man, I definitely don't agree with everything. I'm a knucklehead pirate guy, like crazy old punk rock dude, and like I'm old school, man, and like to me it's just art. If something is really offensive, I get it. I really do get it, and I don't think we should have stuff that's very offensive, but I think these days it's just one of those things. It's like, it's hard to please everybody. And I think there's always going to be somebody that's offended by something, like it's a tough world these days. And I think we need to be sensitive to things. I think we all need to grow for sure. But I gotta say, I'm a purist, man, for a lot of the stuff at Disneyland.
Yeah.
Like I've personally worked on a lot of the refurbishing that we've done. Like I helped create that character Red that we just put into Pirates of the Caribbean a couple years ago. And it was kind of killing me because I love that scene. I love the auction scene, right?
I always love the auction scene as well. I get it. I understand
I do too.
Why they did it. But it was a cool part of the scene. Now I have seen the new version of it, and I don't have a problem with that. And adding and changing the storyline and letting it evolve over time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, go do your thing. I mean, absolutely. That's it.
It's fine. There's part of me that it's like, this is what Walt Disney and those Disney legends established. And you almost feel like you're desecrating their art in a way. And that's the part that hurts me. And it's like, I get it, dude, believe me, I get it. And I agree with a lot of it. I know we have to evolve, but it's still a little bit painful.
But now look here. Of all of this, I mean, there are very few people who are more documented in their mannerisms than Walter Elias Disney, right? So everybody knew Walt. Would you think that Walt would have a problem bringing these things that maybe even he loved the most? Like the Carousel Progress was a huge deal to him. There was another one that was a really big. But if you were to change it and evolve it to meet today's stuff, to take people out of the mundane and put them in the magical, I gotta say, I don't think he's gonna have a problem with that.
No, I agree.
Wherever
I think
his frozen body is, it's okay.
I think
you can't talk about that, David.
I think he'd be okay with that for a number of reasons. One, for the reason you just stated, but two, I think whatever makes him the most money is what he would gravitate toward.
Look, Disney was a businessman through and through. He was a genius businessman
first and foremost.
Yeah.
So if he was getting heat for something, or if something, they were having issues about something, I'm sure he'd change it in a heartbeat to, make the public happy and to do to do what is right and to evolve with our with the times and with our culture and stuff. And I agree. I don't think he would have any problem. These rides, none of it I don't think was super sacred to him. I think they were just attractions that he had a passion about, and it made him money and people loved it. But he didn't have any problem evolving the park. He constantly evolved the park. Even when he was alive, they changed attractions and evolved attractions and stuff. So if you're talking about Walt Disney, the man, totally agree with you, man. He'd have no problem at all constantly evolving and upgrading the park. But as a fan who grew up with these things, that's where me personally, I just have a hard time watching something change that I just love so much as a kid.
Yeah.
That's just me being my own selfish, nerdy self.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I loved Pirates just the way it was. Don't touch it.
Yeah. So West and I, we talk a lot about the power of nostalgia.
Oh, 100%.
How, there are certain businesses that could capitalize on that right now. If I owned, so we've talked about this a couple times. If I owned Pizza Hut right now, I would literally be going and buying the Blockbuster brand.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Blockbuster?
Blockbuster. And
Blockbuster. And make them a good MySpace page.
There's some conversations to be had there, but that you would talk about follow the money. That's going to lead to some revenue. That's going to lead to a lot of revenue because people like me are going to be like, I'm in. Let's do it. Let's go do this. We're going to Pizza Hut. We're getting Blockbuster. It's doing a thing. So I get my pizza. I get my VHS cassette tape, and boom, I'm watching low-res video all night long.
Man, there's a big resurgence for VHS too. That's a huge thing right now.
Yes. So tell me. So if I say the name Bela Lugosi to you,
obviously people think of Dracula first.
Wait, what?
I said so. If I say the name Bela Lugosi to you, are you a fan?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, yeah. So you tell me you're a horror. We're talking about that's 1930s horror movies and whatnot. And so the Bela Lugosi series, I mean, they're just I don't get to watch them very often, but I really do like them. I mean, they're really cool. And you were talking about the storyline in
Dark Crystal.
In the Dark Crystal.
Yeah.
And I was sitting here thinking, I'm like, I remember when it was all about the story because the effects weren't there. So it really heavily relied. So let's take a look at something. So for instance, like a Bela Lugosi movie versus let's use a Disney example. Pirates of the Caribbean 2, the chest. The pirate
Dead Man's Chest?
Dead Man's Chest.
Dead Man's Chest.
Dead Man's Chest.
Yeah.
The big woman's chest. Yes. That we look at that those two movies. So the storyline and the dialogue in that movie was a lot weaker than it was in the first movie.
For sure.
And it relied so much on the animation to get it through.
But Davy Jones was pretty badass. Come on.
I get it, but did he need this? Or could you have made him badass without that?
Yeah, no, totally. I get what you're saying. I get it.
With some practical effects, he could have been more villainous with some practical effects.
Well, maybe that's one of those.
So as Steve was talking about a little bit ago, it was like you got some practical stuff and the character, and then you overlay this cartoon on it, which is clearly a cartoon. How it's the connection that you get with those and how you feel and react with them.
I'd have to argue to say that entire movie as a whole is a cartoon, so it sort of fits. It's a ton. It really is, man. Like
there's a ton.
Part one, sure, it's still fantasy. It was at least a little more grounded. It was a little more serious. But by part two, it literally turned into Looney Tunes, man. It was like Looney Tunes through the whole thing. So to have all these crazy Davy Jones crustacean characters and his tentacle face and all that, it just sort of fit because it already felt like a big cartoon, in my opinion. But
it did. But the character interaction from the first one to the second one, it just took a nosedive.
Yeah.
I like the movie. I'll watch the movie. I don't have a problem with it. But I know when I'm watching that movie that I'm not getting quality storyline. I'm not getting that thing that's really bringing me in and making me attached to this, which you're talking about, the nostalgia effect. Yes.
So this is probably a whole other topic. We could probably do a whole show on this, but me and my wife talk about this all the time, and I have a lot of friends from the entertainment industry that have worked on movies going back, to the 70s and stuff like that, and we're all a bunch of movie fans and movie buffs and everything. And as much as we love special effects, because that's what we've done our whole lives, we still prefer a movie that has an amazing story, a solid script, great acting, and the special effects are literally just the icing on the cake. And that's how it should be. It shouldn't be where a movie revolves around the visuals, right? Where it revolves around...
I need you to go right now to Michael Bay's house and tell him that thing.
Yes. Dude, I'm with you, man. Like, I feel like movies these days are made for an audience that just wants to kind of sit there like a zombie and see cool flashy things in front of their face. That's exciting.
It's
and
ADD
you know what?
theater.
That's fine. If you just want a popcorn movie that's filled with crazy stuff, that's fine. But I still way prefer a movie that has some substance to it, like a really good, solid story. And to tell you the truth, to me, that's when the effects work so well. If you can pull somebody in and immerse them into your amazing story and get you totally involved and invested in the characters and the story, then when you nail them with an effect, it's so much more effective, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
it is an effect.
That's right.
Effect. It is not it's not the status quo.
Right.
It is the exception to the rule. It is what is bringing you. It is the icing on the cake, the cherry on top.
Right. And these movies these days, literally almost from minute one with these movies these days, you're just being bombarded with crazy effects and crazy action sequences and all this over the top stuff to where within a couple minutes you're just desensitized to it, or you're bored with it, or it's just like the same old stuff whereas like if you go back, I'm gonna use this as an example because to me it is probably one of the most perfect films ever made in my opinion, and I will fight anybody on this, but Jaws.
All right, let's go.
Jaws is probably one of the most perfect films ever made. And again, the shark is not the most amazing shark ever made, but it works.
Let's call him by his name. It's Bruce.
Bruce,
by the way.
Bruce had his issues. We all know Bruce had his issues, and that's part of why they didn't show it a lot, and thank God they didn't. But the story...
I think we're going to need a bigger podcast.
Yeah. The story and the acting is absolutely brilliant. And then when they hit you with just those quick flashes of the shark or those quick effects, it's it means so much more. It's so much more effective.
Yes.
Because you have this solid film that you're invested in. Yes.
Great storyline, great execution. So we have wildly interrupted your telling us of how you got to where you are.
That might be the biggest tangent we've ever had on this show.
This is now going to become a 10-part series with Steve Catronio.
We've been going for an hour, and we could easily go for another 3 hours. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Easily. I am absolutely roped in, and I don't know that I should have poured full glasses of rum. But
so just David, just drink right out of the bottle. It's that's how you do it. Do a Jack Sparrow. So before we get off on
I spit it out a little bit ago, and I had to go chase it down, so I can't spit the cork again.
Before we go on another huge tangent, I want to show some of your work here, Steve, and I'm going to show the Disney stuff first. I want to if you want me to stop and chime in on some of this work, let me know. Then I want to show some of your other Hollywood work that you've done, which is just blew my mind. I didn't even show David this stuff yet because I want to see his reaction to some of this stuff. And then
he specifically,
Okay.
no, just for all of you guys out there, Wes texted me early, says, I'm not showing you any of this. I want your live reaction on the cast.
yeah, and then
Which he has done a couple times for some things that have turned out to be some really good casts, by the way. Dave in blind reaction is great because I don't hold a lot back. You know, this face is not a mask. If it hits my brain, it's right here.
Well, and then after,
I'll tell you what, if a photo pops up and you guys have questions on it, just you tell me, man. I'm happy to talk about any of it.
Yeah.
But why don't you guys throw out the questions, whatever you want to know about?
Okay. Well, before
we get started, here's the question that's just burning in my soul. While I said earlier that, you know, going off and being a Disney Imagineer would be the one thing I'd run off to, if they offered me the position of CEO, I would definitely take that. But let's just say, for instance, they're not looking for some Joe Schmo off the street to be CEO of the Disney Corporation. What would you recommend to be the first steps to get in with the company that is # known as Disney?
Well, without getting into a whole crazy conversation about it, but just I can't speak to all different aspects and all different roles at Imagineering, but as an artist, there's probably 2 ways that you can go about this. I would say, this obviously wasn't my path, but definitely getting a strong foundation in art, going to school, taking a lot of art classes, and being insanely versatile. I think one of the things that helped me a lot in the industry to stay working, to stay valid, and to stay successful in this industry, whether it was in special effects or at Imagineering, was I learned how to do a lot of different things in this industry. I learned how to sculpt, how to paint, how to make molds, how to do casting, how to do all of that. So when I jumped into a role at Disney or at a special effects shop, I was able to tackle a lot of different things, and that kept me working. So just learning the fundamentals of whatever it is you're going to go into of art. So if you want to be a sculptor,
you're saying investing in yourself would be the same as investing. Diversify your portfolio and give yourself a solid foundation.
Absolutely, yeah. Yep. You said it better than I could.
I love it.
Now,
hey, Finn is my game. It's in my world.
I'll spew out this ridiculous stuff, and then you can make it make sense later. How about that? We'll be like a team.
I love every word in that sentence.
David loves when people let him go first, and people just follow him up.
So anyway, yeah, we can get on to the rest of this, but whatever, just whatever you're going for, whatever that role is, whatever that job is, whatever that dream is, just learn the fundamentals, put everything into it you possibly can so that you're best prepared when you're thrown into that role to be able to handle everything, you know? And that's my schooling happened on the job. I started working in the effects industry when I was 15 years old, and that was my schooling on the job. But I got out of it what I put into it. I learned everything I could. I soaked it all in. I was literally on fire to learn this stuff. I networked with everybody and just went to every shop.
So Steve, in those you talk about 15 years old there. In those first 2 years, how many times did you fail?
How many times did I fail?
Because I'm a huge advocate for nobody will teach you like failure. Let's say you 15-year-old, you got a pretty we're talking the 70s. Did they use the word dame, or was it a lass? I don't know. There's a lady over there you got your eyes on, right? There's a lady over there you got your eyes on, and you're wanting to you want to swing for the fences, and You go, you make your move, you put everything, you risk it all, you go, you do your thing. And nothing teaches you more than her saying no.
Well, I'll put it even a better way. I've been a professional artist now in the entertainment industry for 35 years, and I never stopped failing and I never stopped learning. And that's the honest to God's truth. Like,
that's right.
That's a
meet
great
the
quote.
Robinsons, my friend. Meet the Rob. So if anybody didn't get where I was going with that, there is a Disney movie called Meet the Robinsons that you've got to watch.
That was a fair movie. I saw it.
It is not a fair movie. My wife will cut you to shribbins by calling it a fair movie.
Nikki, please. It was a good movie. It was a good movie. But Steve, your quote, I never stop failing and I never stop learning. That was it. I'm gonna get that as a tattoo. That's a great quote.
And it's true.
David, I'm not gonna get a tattoo.
Wait, Steve, we gotta stop you here.
You're cutting off our guest, David. You're cutting off our guest, David.
Wes just said he was going to get a tattoo of that. So I say that wherever people put in the comments down here, not only Wes is getting this tattoo, but where he can get this tattoo should be in the comments, and we should do a live cast.
David.
Of said tattoo.
David, you're asking a grown man where he's going to get a tattoo of words that say "I never stop failing." That's not a good business model.
I didn't say it was a good business model. I said it was good TV.
That's fair point.
All righty then,
dude. Okay, so
right.
we're gonna get to these photos. We're getting to these photos. So Steve, I got to tell you, I'm the photos of your Grimwood Hollow stuff. I'm gonna do last because if there are young people watching, this will give them nightmares.
All right.
Sounds good. So for those of you who don't know, Steve not only he's a Disney Imagineer, he also does a sort of a Halloween, one of those super haunted house things called Grimwood Hollow. And we'll get more on that later, but I mean, the stuff you sculpt for that is ridiculously just nightmarish. So we're gonna start with the Disney stuff first.
So is this just so I know, is this a haunted house type thing that you guys do every year?
Yeah, it's just a yard display that we do, that me and my wife.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll get into that, David.
Right.
We'll get into that.
Fire away, Western Carnahan.
Western. I'll take it. Whatever. All right, that's fine. All right, hang on.
There, and you're back. Oh, I know those guys.
Uh-oh. Well, to tell you the truth, Wes, I have a blank screen right now and I can't see anything.
Yeah, I have a big white screen. I have a big white screen, Wes. So Wes.
Yeah.
So Steve.
Oh, there it is.
These lovely polar bears in a snowstorm. Now, is that original creation, or is that something that was given to you and you had to say, how do I visualize a polar bear in a snowstorm? Did you not hear my witty banter?
I see an island.
All right, so on.
Yes, I see an island.
So Steve, one of the problems for those of you guys out there is, especially on the Mac side of the world, you have to give permission for almost every single aspect of what you're going to do. So if you do something that is outside of what you've given permission to, Apple will be like, no, bro, that ain't happening. And give you said white screen, or you might get an island in the background while West is going through and permissions for his apps.
There it is.
All right, now
yeah.
I didn't say it was all true. I was talking BS until you got back, bro. What the heck?
I can. Yes, I
I can
can.
see it. I can see it. And I know these guys. I know these guys at Be Our Guest. Be Our Guest is one of the very few restaurants that when I actually go to Disney, which my wife drags me to more frequently than I care to want to, but when I have to go there, Be Our Guest is at the top of the list. And some of the reasons are because of the immersion that you get when you go in there. And it is, and so these are your creations.
Yeah, so a lot of what I do at Imagineering starts as concept art, right? There's usually an artist who draws up a sketch and a design, and then that sketch comes to me, and then I sculpt it and bring it to life. So it's a team of people, but these are 100%.
It takes a village.
Yeah. These were another artist's drawings, his designs, and then I sculpted them out of clay to create these actual statues. So I did these dimensional statues. And the way these were done, I sculpted these miniature. So I sculpted these about 12 inches tall, and it's what's called a maquette. So I sculpted a maquette of each one of these. Then we scanned them, and created a digital model of these. And then we 3D milled them out of foam full size. So started as a miniature sculpture that I did, turned into a scanned 3D model, and eventually was milled. You know, I think the lamppost gargoyle, his name is Frank. I don't know if anyone even knows that little secret, but the guy on the left, he's called the lamppost gargoyle, and there's 6 of them going across the bridge, and he's holding up the lamppost, and his name is Frank. And those guys were probably about 3.5, 4 feet tall. And then the Minotaur on the right is about 7 or 8 feet tall or something, if I remember right. And there's 2 of those.
The Minotaur is no slouch.
Yeah, he's big. There were 2 of those. I did this one 100% by myself. And then there was another one on the other side. And me and my buddy Patrick tag teamed that other one on the other side. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You do it. So
You are right.
So I want to make
Well, thank
sure
you,
that
man.
all
I
of our
appreciate it.
viewers- That all of our viewers know that this should not be confused with Frank the Gargoyle from the Homeowners Association battle that has raised like $500,000 to various charities over the last
What
couple
the
years.
heck?
So look up when you get time, look up Frank the Gargoyle Homeowners Association. It is a saga that is great, and the lady who owns the house where Frank the Gargoyle lives just has raked in the money and done a ton for charity with Frank the Gargoyle. And the Karen that complained about Frank the Gargoyle is has unwittingly
That's funny.
and has never been identified.
Oh my
but
gosh.
has really done a lot to it. So we got Frank the Gargoyle. So does the Minotaur have a name, or is it just the Minotaur? Because in Greek mythology or in Greek theology, there was only the Minotaur.
Yeah, I don't think those had a names that I remember anyway.
Yeah. In Greek theology, the Minotaur was just the Minotaur in Pan's Labyrinth.
Now what? Say that again?
That's
Perfect.
all right. When I'm CEO, I'll bring you back.
Yeah, that was one of the crazier jobs that I've ever done at Disney. This was no joke. This was about 4 years of my life working on Cars Land, starting with what were the early concept models. So there there were smaller models that we started with to kind of work out how it was going to look. And then eventually we created that model that you're seeing right there. And what you're seeing is just a little small piece of this model. This model was like 20, 25 feet across. When I was standing inside that model working on it, you see all the tail fins of the Cadillacs back there? Okay. The middle tail fin, the tallest one, is a 1959 Cadillac. And the top of that was level with my head standing in that model. So that gives you kind of a sense of scale. That the top of that Cadillac fin, I'm a little guy, I'm 5'7", but still that's a damn big model.
Yeah, it is. I mean, think about so just so you guys know, I think the Cadillac was what, like 20 1959 was like 22 feet long. So I mean, this is a big car. So it's actually smaller than the original car.
So
but,
you can't
to model that out. It's just huge.
You can't even see them all there.
This is crazy.
This is obviously straight from the movie. We use the movie reference, right, to sculpt this rock work, to sculpt this land. But I'm sure you guys all know John Lasseter, the former owner of Pixar. This was his baby project. This was his personal project. He was the one who created Cars, the movie. That was his personal project, and Cars Land was so important to him. So when we started Cars Land, he was very involved. He was there all the time, working with me on it and our team. And he actually went on vacation to Lake Powell, I think in Arizona, and to Monument Valley in, I think it's Arizona and New Mexico. I don't know, I'm forgetting. But anyway, he took photos of those areas, brought them back, and he said, look, I know we have to make this look like the movie reference, but we need to bring this like to real life. You know, we need to create this environment and make it look a lot more realistic than what it looked like in the movie. So that was my job. So of course I stayed true to the overall look of the film, but all of that extra detail that's packed in there, all of the forced perspective that's happening. And I spent a ton of time creating what's called forced perspective in this scene.
Well, that's what I was going to ask about the forced perspective. So at the highest point here, you're talking eye to eye. So 5'7", 5'8". That's where we're looking at right here. What was the height of the one further back there that gave the forced perspective to make it that basically pushed it way back in the background? So how are we talking on the very far one there?
Well, it's probably on this model, it's probably only about a foot difference or so, but it's also the way it's sculpted and the way it's painted. So when I wanted to make something seem further away, I sculpted less detail into it. And also they paint it to look a little more hazy to create what's called atmosphere. So the further away something is in real life, the more atmosphere is in front of it. So
I have watched a buttload of Bob Ross, and I can tell you that you are exactly true on that. Yeah. So what we do is we want to tap the bristles, and we want to give it a little
that's right.
mist, a little bit of mist, and that's going to push back that thing. We don't want a lot of detail. That's way back there. We can't see a lot of detail. A little tap, and we're done.
Oh, I am, man. Don't worry about it. I'm with you guys. I'm right here.
All right.
So in real life, that tallest.
Right, go ahead and finish up on Monument Valley here.
That tallest Cadillac fin in real life is 128 feet tall. And it was, at the time, it was the tallest rock work we've ever created for any Disney park. Wow. And it's pretty cool.
I know you guys have done quite a bit of rock work for Thunder Mountain, even the Little Mermaid, the ride, and even the character meet and greet. The character meet and greet in Disney World. There's a lot of rock work that goes into that. And me, I'm a life safety guy. So I go in, I look at these things, and I say, oh, they've done this with the fire alarm and the fire protection. And I see how it's all laid out. And I see it, and But I am one of those weirdos that walk through and I appreciate every little detail that I see. I'm like,
Oh, he does.
oh,
I've seen it.
there's an impression in this rock. Okay, we're gonna call it rock. There's an impression in this rock. Well, that impression is not in the rock because some seashell was there. That impression is there because some artist said, this is where it needs to be. Now, it doesn't matter that whether it was scattered out with a bucket of shells across or whether it was placed one by one. So as you're walking through and you're brought in on we're going to talk only about rock work. When you're brought in on some of these rides and attractions that you don't know you're in them until you're actually in them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what really brings it to the forefront, which again, just I absolutely love and adore it.
Well, it's Cars Land to me, when I got to go to the opening day of that, it honestly felt like one of the most immersive environments I've ever been a part of. And I was just blown away at how amazing it turned out, and happy and proud to be a part of it, because it was really mind blowing. It was probably some of the most amazing rock work that we've ever created. And I think, Wes, did I send you a picture of that ride vehicle with the license plate?
You did, but I don't have it handy.
Oh no, it's okay. It was, again, I think I was telling you, this literally was like 4 years of my life and everything that I put into it. I mean, I destroyed my knees on this project. I like ruined my health on this project. I'm not even kidding you. But the team,
he's like, okay, wait a minute, hold on. Steve's like, I ruined my health on this project. Both West and I are laughing in the background.
Yeah, I'm laughing too, dude. Believe me.
That's to give some sense of the sense of humor that we have. Like, oh, you killed yourself to do this.
That's
It's
the
true.
entertainment
Welcome
industry
to
for
the
you.
dark side.
I'm looking for the photos now, but yeah, you totally sent it to me. That's amazing. So they put your birthday on the license plate or something, right?
Yeah, they dedicated one of the ride vehicles to me, and they put my initials and my birth date as the license plate on one of the ride vehicles, to just as like a thank you for all of the work I put into designing the rock work and stuff. And
freaking cool. That is freaking cool. Because
yeah, I was blown away.
Trying to think of it. I'm trying to think of what the number is, but there's a specific classroom number classroom number or room number
in Pixar. It's like 102A or something like that.
That makes its way into a lot of movies. Again, hashtag current wife, first wife is sitting at home shouting off of the couch right now that what number it is, and to know that you have a vehicle number that is your birthday, that's cool. Yeah. That is just cool.
And it was a surprise to me. I didn't even know they were doing that, so it was just really awesome. I was very blown away by it.
There it is.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Oh, so here we go. We got it.
So if you ever want to know Steve's birthday and initials, here you go.
There it is.
That's you.
It says SOB23C.
SO823C. That's it.
So I'm guessing 0823 is the birthday there.
That's right.
For those of you guys wanting to steal Steve's identity, there you have it.
That's amazing. So let's move on. So we also have Star Wars Galaxy's Edge here. So sorry, David, go ahead. Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. He made this alien in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah. Right. So I don't see it, but
Oh, hang on. Nope, I didn't. Switch. 1 second.
No worries.
And we're back.
Yeah, so I worked on a lot of stuff on Galaxy's Edge, a bunch of different creatures and characters and stuff like that. But I gotta say, for me personally, this was one of my favorites. This was a character in Return of the Jedi that you see for about a half a second outside of Jabba the Hutt's lair. You see this little frog dude. He like shoots his tongue out and he eats a little fly or whatever.
Yeah. Now, wait a minute. Was this
Yeah.
in the original 1980, early 80s Return of the
84.
Jedi, the 1984 Return of the Jedi, or the George Lucas digitally remastered Return of the Jedi?
We're not even going to talk about the remastered ones, all right?
That, sir, is the correct. That, sir, is the correct answer.
That's right. So anyway, he was a very simple little hand puppet for the original movie, but now they wanted a character that people could walk right up to and look at. He's in the bar. So if you go into the bar, he's in these tanks. The one on the right is in a tank inside the bar, and the one on the left is in a gift shop. And his stomach actually inflates, kind of like a frog would inflate its throat. His stomach inflates, and he actually has little fireflies that are flying around in his stomach, and you can see the fireflies light up.
My stomach inflates too, Space Frog. My stomach inflates too.
what was really cool about this, what I really liked, for me as a sculptor, as an artist, they had just this simple hand puppet, and they let me kind of run wild with the design for it to make it a lot more realistic. So I completely re-sculpted this design, added all those crazy little wrinkles and texture, and gave it a lot different character, and really sort of tried to make it look a little bit more realistic and a little more alive, rather than just like a little sock puppet character.
Yeah. So when you're designing something like this, do you need to think
Yeah.
about the whatever animatronics and the functionality of it as you're designing
Absolutely, yeah. So we work hand in hand with our animation team and with the guys who do the animatronics, and often I have to integrate all of the mechanical design into my sculpture digitally. So I'll be taking like their armatures and their actuators and their eye mechanisms and any other kind of armature that's going to be inside of this. I have to float it digitally into my sculpture and make sure that the whole thing is going to have the space for it and animate properly. So there's a lot of integration and a lot of teamwork that has to happen.
So I've got this electro, hydraulic, or whatever operational gizmo that's going to be inside of XYZ character. I need to make sure that when I turn this way, I don't have a protruding armature sticking out this way, or a piston or something like that. Dude, it's just absolutely. I've been telling you, man. It just absolutely blows my mind. I absolutely love it. So back to Phantasm. We
it? We got a lot more. Hang on, David. David, you don't even know. Phantasm is scratching the surface as far as what this guy has. I'm telling you, this is gonna blow your mind.
Okay, all right, bring it on. Bring it on. To me, West.
All right, let's keep going. Yeah, dude. Yeah.
So this is only a winter time. So this is after October 31st. This is November 1 on.
Yeah.
Right? This is when this happens. Okay.
Yeah, so this is the holiday overlay, and these are the Ice Angel sculptures. There's actually 3 of them. I only have 2 of them here right now, but I sculpted these also as a maquette that was about 18 inches tall, and then we scanned it and we milled it out of foam, and then it gets molded and made out of fiberglass, and that's what you see here. So that was another one that I sculpted first as a miniature.
All right. So as a bit of a molding nerd, has Disney done anything at all moving from fiberglass to carbon fiber?
Oh, we've been using carbon fiber forever, but carbon fiber is only used when we need something super light and with a lot of extra strength to it, right?
With the tensile strength, the whole.
Exactly. Okay. So it's a lot more expensive, but yeah, I mean, they've used carbon fiber on a billion different projects. But to tell you the truth, the majority of what we used to do in fiberglass, we now 3D print out of different materials, because there's like a lot of
resins. Okay.
Yeah, well, not even just resin, but there's a lot of different materials like ABS, PLA, and different materials that can hold, and even nylon. We do a lot of printing in nylon that
I
hold-
have a 3D
they hold
printer.
up to
I can
the
do
elements.
I can do PLA and TLA. I think are the mediums that I'm able to use off my 3D printer.
Yeah. And so, it's the technology's there. Why not use it? So we're doing that all the time now. We're like, when you think of the old animatronic figures that they had in Pirates of the Caribbean that were all the shells were made out of fiberglass. We 3D print all those shells now. We don't even make any of those out of fiberglass.
Okay.
anymore.
All right. Right here between you and me and the girls, right? The skeleton at the skeleton in the Pirates of the Caribbean on the headboard of the bed.
Yeah.
Is that because because there were originally actual skeletons used for that.
Oh, that's yeah. Oh,
And the myth is that skeleton that's on the headboard was not replaced.
Well, I'll tell you what. We're going to hold that question until Wes gets to another photo here.
dude. So
Excellent.
Steve, you are like
I am loving Steve.
if either one of you suggested to me that we should start a Disney and VFX visual effects podcast dedicated just listening to Steve's stories, we could have at least multiple 2 or 3 years of content right here. Like we could make a whole episode about all of this stuff. Steve, if you have an open night any day of the week, we can make this happen because this is insane.
Yeah, believe me, man. I have like endless crazy stories that I would actually have a blast talking about. Like, as you can tell, I love to talk, but I even have a diary that I've been like keeping track of all these crazy stories because I know eventually my memory is going to fail me. And I'm like, I do not want to forget these insane stories, man. These stories are freaking priceless, man. I got to remember them. So I've been writing them down in a diary like an idiot. But it's fun stuff, man. You can't make this stuff up. The entertainment industry is insane.
So this is why Wes. Wes, I need you to tune out for a moment. So this is why
I'm tuned out like 90% of the time. It's fine.
So well is that he has years and years of experience of dealing with somebody who is just like you.
that's this guy. Way over here. That's this guy. So the only real difference I'm seeing is one has a mohawk.
That's bro over there.
One has a mohawk and a cool goatee. The other one is David.
Nice.
All right, so we're gonna move on.
All right, what's next? What do we got for us next? Oh, please, for the love of God, tell me you created Randall.
I did all of the Randalls for the Monsters Inc. here in California Adventure, and I did all of the Randalls for Monsters Inc. Ride and Go Seek and Tokyo Disneyland. I did every one of the Randalls we've ever done, and I destroyed my elbow doing them. So I did every one of these Randalls from scratch. This was before we were milling everything. So everything. So these are just 2 Randalls right here, right? I did 12 of them in all kinds of different poses, and every single Randall had about 30,000 scales on them. That's no joke. So 30,000 scales times 12 different figures that I had to carve individually. 1, 2, 3, 4, carve every one of these scales on him. By the time I was done with a couple of them, I had the worst destroyed tendonitis, tennis elbow ever, and it's never really recovered from it. So, okay, I might just be getting old, but I still would rather blame it on Disney for ruining my health.
So
Bob Chapek, you owe this man a new elbow.
So basically, you're taking pointillism to extremes.
Yeah. It was crazy, man. They were really fun to sculpt. I had a blast working with Pixar on it. But doing those scales was literally crazyology, trying to do all those scales.
We got it. We own.
So Steve, Dave. So it's funny, Dave. You were looking for that, and I actually looked for it a minute ago. I looked for Crazyology. I'm like, oh, it's taken. I didn't know you took it. So Steve.
It literally just processed. I was just able to get it through.
So,
It's been sitting there. I had to reset passwords and do all kinds of crazy stuff. So for those of you guys who texted me, Dave, it doesn't look like you're paying attention. It's because I was trying to reset my password for my domain service so I could buy crazyology.com.
Also, Steve, just so you
Because
know,
I
we're
think
gonna
it's gold.
start the Crazyology podcast, and we're gonna spend so much time talking about, like, every episode is basically your stories. That's what's happening right now.
It's Steve after dark.
We got to start with your tattoo, Wes. It all starts there.
Ouch!
Oh,
Ouch!
oh.
I never should have said that. My current wife is gonna hate you, Steve.
Oh, drink that to your Irish fresh skin.
It's true,
son.
Steve. You might be the reason I call my current wife my current wife.
Actually, Steve, I got to give you this background. So see as how we are at episode 99.
Yeah.
West and I have done this 99 weeks in a row. Sometimes we have to push it to Thursday. Next week, our 100th will be on a Thursday, mainly because I'll be in Boston, Massachusetts on Wednesday. But we're going to be together. We're going to put the show on for Thursday. So in our very first podcast, the very first one ever, which we're going to have a couple clips out of to show for next week, he mentions his wife and he refers to her as, well, my current wife. And then he just stops dead in his tracks. He's like, I don't know why I said that. I don't know why I called her my current wife. And it has grown since then.
Oh.
So I call my wife my current wife or first wife, and
Nice.
Kirsten is the hashtag current.
Yeah.
She is the OG hashtag current wife.
Yeah, I'm sure she would appreciate being called the OG. Also, before we introduced alcohol into this podcast, it was a very different show. Very different show.
Very different show. So next week, I think, you know what? I'm going to leave it right there. Move on to the next picture, Wes.
All right, next
I'm just
picture.
glad I wasn't part of the old show. That sounds boring.
It lasted like two. It was like two
The old show was a bit
episodes,
boring.
and we were like, we need beer.
Yeah. Two episodes, and then we're like, you know what? Let's do this from a bar, bro.
Yeah, and we did. We live streamed from multiple bars over, many episodes.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
that's cool.
So we had a series of shows, multiple in a row, where we broadcast from a German beer hall. So
Oh,
if
that's
you go,
Do you know-
If you go to,
Oh,
if
yeah.
you go to Epcot, if
Do you
you
know
go
the
to
I didn't see
Hofbrau
one of
House?
those.
Yeah, and we're going to be back there next Thursday at 7 p.m. So you guys should all come and see the show live, and then immediately following the show, we, the Underdog Journey, in coordination with the Hofbrau House Columbus, will be hosting the very first 2022 Beer Stein holding competition. Now, this Beer Stein holding competition, so we did the only ones in
Ooh, nice.
2021, and so now it's 2022. We're coming back.
Cheers.
and I've got a
Luncha.
plastic cup. I've got a plastic cup. I've got a plastic cup. For those of you guys who have been following the trial that's going on, that was actually quite funny to you.
Johnny Depp did not say that.
I've got a jar of dirt. I've got a plastic cup. Come on, man. Get with the times. So anyway, we're going to be back there, and we're going to be hosting a beer stein holding competition immediately following the show, live from the stage. It's going to be a great time. Get down there, establish your dominance. We're going to do two competitions, one for the men, one for the ladies. It's going to be a great time. Bring it. We're going to have, free water for anybody who asks, and free servers for anybody who asks as well. So that's going to be a great time.
Cool. Hey, fellas, I got to run off just for like 20 seconds because I'm an old man and I have the bladder of a 2-year-old and I have no shame. So I'm going to say that on your live show.
Leave your camera on. We'll be good. We'll wait for you. We'll wait for you.
That's all right. No,
I'll be right back.
Yeah, totally.
We're going to go on to the next. We're going to go on to the next picture. And
All right.
We're going to keep on. You
And
go
we'll
do
talk.
your thing.
We'll talk a little bit of
All right,
shit,
Wes.
but it's fine. We're good.
Bring it back up. Bring it back up with the guy with the prostate problems. Yeah. Yeah. only Cambridge Analytica got us kicked off. That was, that was a great show. That was
You can't,
a
David,
great
don't
show.
say those words. You can't say the CA words. Zuckerberg is watching.
You can't. Zuckerberg's watching you. He's looking over at me and going, "I ain't messing with that guy. Look at his beard."
It's true.
So, if
Look,
I've got the gray brewing in right here, so I don't know if I'm going to keep the beard. But this is the longest beard I've ever had, and
the gray
it's annoying the absolute hell out of me.
The gray works for you. You kind of have this sort of Nick Offerman thing going on.
I don't know who that is. I was thinking Johnny Cage.
Sure, we'll go with that. That's fine. But watch Parks and Rec. Look for Nick Offerman, and
okay.
So on Parks and Rec, he's a genius. However, I'm a
genius, so that resonates.
However, his other stuff he does outside of that show, where he grows the big gangly beard, is just genius work. Steve, we're talking about Nick Offerman all of a sudden. Are you familiar?
About who?
Nick Offerman.
Nick, I didn't catch that. I'm sorry.
Nick Offerman. It's fine. He's a comic. He was on Parks and Rec. Anyway, we're off topic.
Oh, okay.
We're off topic. Let's get back on.
Wait. No. Wes, take us all back. Take us all back to the main screen. Take us all back to the main screen.
Here, what's
because
happening?
We're talking about the Pirates of the Caribbean. We all have a glass of rum sitting in front of us. So I have to offer the drink up me Hardy's Yo-Ho toast. And really bad eggs.
Yo-Ho!
By the way, did you notice my pirate rings?
I did see those. I wanted to talk to you after the show, but now that you've got them on there.
Did you make those?
I mean.
Did you make those?
I did not make them, but the ring on the bottom that looks like an actual Spanish cob.
Yeah.
That ring is made from real shipwreck silver treasure that was melted down to make this ring. It's
No way. Honestly?
It's from the Atocha, which is a Spanish treasure galleon that was found off the Florida coast. And it was one of the most, lucrative shipwrecks ever found. And they recovered so much treasure from that shipwreck, but they melted down some of the silver and made these commemorative rings that look like an actual pieces of 8 pirate treasure.
Dude, that is so cool.
Spanish cob.
Wait. I have to give away about how much of a nerd I am right now. That ship sank south of Miami. It sank south, but the currents drug it up the coast on the eastern side of Florida. And that's where the shipwreck. So when they found the shipwreck, God, I'm a nerd.
Me too, man.
it wasn't in the location of where the ship sank. It was actually up because the current had drug it over several years.
How about 300 years?
Yes, I'm going to use the word several because I'm drunk and I don't want to get numbers involved. Up the coast along the eastern side of Florida. And it was, for those of us who follow some very obscure and weird things, that's just cool. And you have a ring made from the salvage and recovery of that ship, and that is just.
And that's amazing. So I want to share this real quick before we get back to the photos. So Steve, you sent me a package not too long ago of tobacco, pirate-themed tobacco. Because I also have the YouTube channel where I talk about pipes and pipe tobacco. And David, I'm going to share.
We're not supposed to tell people about that yet.
Well, I don't. So, Steve, I'm not telling people about this yet because technically, I actually started that channel. So it's a whole thing. But basically, I'm going to talk about how to.
We'll tell you after the show.
With under a niche, it's a whole thing. But you sent me this a giant box, which I cannot thank you enough for that. It was ridiculous. You saw the video where I opened the box. It blew my mind. Part of that box
was so fun, man.
Was this bag here?
Yeah.
Where you actually is like a little skull. It's hard to camera won't focus on it. a little sculpted skull with a little bone. And I'm assuming you made those.
I see it there.
And inside of that are some pirate coins.
Yeah.
That you said you made for a pirate-themed group that you're a part of.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a couple here. So tell us what's happening.
An invite to said pirate. So if I take my beard and I go this way with it, man, I am a great pirate, man. Salty sea dog. If I take this beard up, man,
you fit much better than I do.
Oh,
perfect.
I am in like Flynn.
Yeah.
For those
So
of you guys who get that reference as well.
So I've been doing those. I've been doing like pirate fairs and Renaissance fairs for over 30 years. I love that stuff. And one of the things that I think you probably realize that now, Wes. I love to create experiences for people. That's what I've always loved to do. I love to create entertainment and create experiences for people. And years ago, when we used to do these big like Renaissance and pirate campouts, we would have a completely themed pirate camp. And everybody that came into our camp, I gave them these little trinkets as a little commemorative thing to remember their fun times with us. And so every single year, I started making a different little trinket, a little giveaway for all of these fairs, all of these campouts that we did. And I keep this tradition going to this day. And so those 2 coins were some of the little handout trinkets that I made, but they're pretty rad. I hand sculpt them. Well, actually, okay. One of those is hand sculpted, and one of those I sculpted in ZBrush. I did a 3D sculpture on.
Oh, cool.
And then I have them actually cast out of metal at a foundry. So I'll have anywhere between 80 or a couple hundred of those things made and literally cast out of metal, so they feel like real coins, you know. And then I give them away. So when I go to the Renaissance fairs, if I run into somebody and have a fun little experience talking to them or something, I hand them these free little coins as like a little treasure for them.
Dude, that is cool. That is so cool.
Some really like cute little kids dressed up as pirates that are having a great little time there.
Mm-hmm.
I'll like, give them some pirate treasure to make their day extra special. And it's just kind of a fun little extra, memento for people to have a fun little experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so those, the coins you have, one of them is actually from about 12 years ago from one of our campouts. And then the one that has the octopus tentacles, that was from 2020 when we were supposed to go to the Ren Fair. But yeah, the one on the left, that was for 2020, but the pandemic happened and the Ren Fair never happened. So I would never even was able to hand those out to anybody. So I've got a little sack of those sitting here. But they're really cool coins that I sent them out in the mail to a couple friends back in 2020. And I just thought it'd be fun to send you a couple of them for your little pirate themed treasure box.
No, that is super cool. And the fact that you're like into giving these out to people who are like kids and stuff who really are into the experience. I got to tell you, so this past summer, my kids we went to Hilton Head Island, which the whole East Coast is just rife with, pirate, history and mythology. At this point, you can call it mythology, essentially. And we went on a pirate cruise where we went out with the whole family, and the kids did this whole Stinky Pete pirate thing. And they dressed up as pirates. And they got, the pirate's treasure at the end, and they got all these, like, chintzy plastic coins. And they still carry around buckets of these plastic coins they received on this thing. And you're right. The experience of just receiving this little trinket.
Yeah.
You remember it forever. Forever.
Right. Yeah.
And that's
that's
incredible.
what it's all about.
It is. And and that also goes deeply into what you create with Disney. And to tie it on back to these images, we still have a lot of stuff to cover. But dude, I mean, you're blowing my mind here. We're going to do Crazyology podcast. Whether your wife likes it or not, we're going to make this happen.
Yeah. 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 So Dave, this is going into your question when you were asking about the real skeletons. So yeah, when they first created Pirates of the Caribbean, there was no such thing as fake skeletons. You couldn't just buy a plastic skeleton at a Halloween store. So back
Couldn't.
back in the 60s, they actually purchased real skeletons from the Philippines, and the original skeletons that were in Pirates of the Caribbean were all real skeletons. But those were all swapped out in the 80s because it was obviously, not cool and a health hazard.
The man's telling a story, but I interject, and that's just what I do.
Okay.
The skull on the headboard. So you see it right here, right above the guy with a stripy shirt. So you see the crossbones, and just above that, the skeleton. That is the only one that is rumored to be left as a original, actual human skeleton.
Yep, and it's just a rumor.
Oh! Right in the heart.
Oh, so you're telling us, so this is an exclusive saying all of those are not, there are no real skeletons or skeleton parts left in.
Well, correct. Think about it. Why would they make them pull all of the real skeletons, but allow them to leave one real one? You know what I mean? It's just a rumor that got passed around, but all of the skeletons now have been fake since the 1980s when they obviously passed a law about that, and you couldn't have real human remains in a theme park attraction, which I totally get.
They don't want real human remains at Disneyland. I get it. It's a whole thing.
Yeah. So anyway, since the 80s, if there was any real human remains that still were there for a couple of years or whatever, I don't know about that. But I know for a fact now they are all fake because I was actually part of the crew that created all of the new ones for 2006. In fact, this was a job. I actually didn't even do it at Imagineering. This was my own shop on the outside. I did this one at my own shop. I was contracted through a buddy of mine at Disney, and I had the contract to do all of these skeletons. And me and my business partner at the time, we recreated all of the skeletons in what's called the grotto. So we've got the main captain on the treasure pile. We have the helmsman at the ship's wheel. We have a guy in the bed. We have the two drinking pirates at the bar. Those are all the main, what they call the hero skeleton pirates. And those were all the main ones that they had us redo. So we completely created those from new fake skeletons. We used way better skulls on some of them to make them look a lot better. We posed them. We resculpted parts of them. We painted them. And then we had custom costumes made for most of them. The boot on the captain on the treasure pile was from my friend who also did pirate reenactment stuff. And we got one of his old boots and put it on there. But yeah, these are all just plastic skeletons now that we made.
I got to interrupt again about the costumes because I went out on West producer.
Don't blame me. Don't blame me. What's happening right now?
I looked over as if he was right there, but he's not there. So Steve,
what?
So I was on a Disney cruise, right? I'm on a Disney cruise over Halloween of all the seasons, and they're doing the trick or treat and all the stuff. So I didn't go to a costume store and buy said pirate themed costume. I went to a provider who does it for reenactments and Broadway style plays. Cool. And I said, I want to be a pirate. And they said, there's no such thing as a pirate outfit. Pirates layered everything. It was this thing and that thing.
Yeah.
So I go and I get all set up and I take it on the cruise with me. And I go in our room and I get ready and I got my everything on, full tilt hat, everything, all the stuff ready to go. And I walk out and I go out in the mix and the mingle of the common folk, I'll call them. Everybody thought I was an employee of Disney.
Wow.
I was worn out because I was like, oh my God, I've got to keep a smile on my face the whole time, and I'm directing them with the 2-finger point and everything to all of the stuff that you've got to do when you're Disney Boy. I'm like, oh my Lord, how do these people do it nonstop? I did it for like 2.5 hours, and I was just done. I was just done because I had to be. I mean, I was full tilt in character. Now, my hashtag current wife and daughter and son, they were off doing what they did because it took me a lot longer to get ready. Because I mean, look at this face. I mean,
David, you're full. You're in character at all times. That's not just when you're at Disney.
Yes, actually, I do. That is not an untrue statement. But so I'm there, and I'm layered. I mean, full tilt in pirate, and I'm just going through. And people are coming up and asking me questions about where they need to go to do this, and I don't know a damn thing. But I'm pointing them to the people who do. And it was a great time. So, you know,
That's awesome.
One of these days, we need to get on a cruise and just full tilt pirate out.
Steve, here's what needs to happen.
Full tilt pirate out.
Heck yeah.
Steve, you bring your current wife. David, you bring your current wife. I'll bring my probably next wife, and we'll make this happen.
That's what I was going to say. I was like,
sounds good, man. Let's do it.
It might be. Actually, no. If it's a Disney cruise, the hashtag current wife is on board.
She gets seasick, but we can make it happen. All right, Steve, this is, whether you like it or not, it's happening. We're going to do Crazyology podcast. You, everybody watching and listening, are witnessing the birth of something new here. We're going to make it happen. All right, so back to...
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I worked on a ton of stuff for Tokyo Disney Seas. There were so many different cool attractions and things I worked on. I worked on a Sinbad 7 Voyages ride. I worked on another Indiana Jones ride that we did there, and a lot of other things. But what I just sent you was kind of just to give you sort of a cross section of the different types of projects I work on at Imagineering, from models to characters, you know, and even to ride vehicles. And I've sculpted a lot of ride vehicles. I did the logs from Splash Mountain when we redid the logs for that, and I did these vehicles here. I've done actually quite a few ride vehicles, which is kind of fun because it's kind of cool later on to go to the attraction and actually ride in the ride vehicle that you helped work on or something, which is pretty fun. But these were a number of different rides that were at Tokyo Disney Seas. There's the jumping jellyfish.
I've got to interrupt you again because I've got to interrupt you again. I know he's speaking. That's why it's called an interruption. If he wasn't speaking, that'd just be me speaking. So I get what you're saying, because even driving down the road, even my son now, who is he'll be 18 here soon, and my daughter, who is 9, just turned 9. As we're driving through places, of all the years I've been like, oh, I did the fire alarm here, I did the fire alarm there, I did the mass notification there, I did this and this and this and this. So as I'm driving now, I drive down the road, keep my mouth shut, and one of my kids is like, oh, you did the fire alarm there, you did the thing there, you did the thing there. And I can't imagine what it would be like to get in a Disney ride and that be the ride vehicle that I created.
Oh, well, David,
That
David,
would be
David,
absolutely wicked.
David. So Steve here is giving us the lowdown dirt on some of the work he's worked on. When are you going to give us the lowdown dirt on some high-level people that you've worked with who may or may not be involved with certain people who we should or should not speak about publicly online? David.
Uh-oh.
Oh, we lost his audio. We lost David's audio. Steve, I think it's just you and I.
No. You actually rendered David speechless, which is a rare event in any case.
I knew that would happen.
Steve, I have worked with some pretty we're gonna say if I said the names of the people I've been in contact with and worked with, if they're
He would get a knock on his door. In
you would
Niagara
know
Falls, he'd get a
who
knock on his
they
door.
are.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
So the answer to that question is maybe.
Maybe. Maybe after a little more rum. After a little more rum.
Yeah.
I gotta
Keep drinking.
tell you, I have spent a ton on my bourbon collection, but I gotta tell you, my rum collection, my sipping rum collection, is about to come a long way.
Steve.
Real quick. This I cannot. Here's a commercial for you. Diplomatico rum for when you just want to drink rum.
Look, Steve.
This is delicious. This is easy drinking. You know when you get the bourbon and you get that kind of burn in the back of it, and that first drink that you have to go through, this doesn't have it. This is a rum that I've always drunk rum, and I had on hand some pina colada mix.
You didn't even open it.
in case.
You didn't even open it.
I hedged my bet because I'm like, I don't know, rum. But no, this stuff is fun. I mean, this stuff is delicious. And for those of you guys who have watched our podcast in the past, just by the size of the bottle in my hand, this is not a small bottle. That's Steve, that's an ongoing joke. If I pour a can of beer, a 12-ounce can of beer, it puts in my hand. It looks like a 6-ounce can or a 4-ounce can in a regular person's.
No,
hand.
he just has elephantiasis of the hands. His hands are gigantic.
But
He's
I gotta tell you,
David is actually the size of Andre the Giant. At least his hands are. So here's the difference. Here's what it looks like when I hold a normal size can. Here's what it looks like when David holds a normal size can. I'm just gonna crush this thing.
That actually is not too.
I like the forced perspective.
See, I've been watching a lot of Lord of the Rings lately. It's been happening. So
Hey Wes, how do you like the Kraken rum?
Dude, Kraken is good. My only druther for the Little Abner fans.
That's a John Wayne word for those of you guys who are out there that don't know.
Well, prior to John Wayne, it was Little Abner. My Little Abner druther reference would be, I wish I'd gotten the 94 proof versus the normal proof. But since I'm mixing this with the Krabby's ginger beer, I could get myself into trouble. This is tasty stuff. And Steve, look, you have unleashed the Kraken, so to speak, and we will be drinking a lot more rum.
I love the Kraken. The Kraken is one of my favorite dark spiced rums, and it's definitely a lot stronger than most rums. So it'll do the job.
Steve, when we get the marketing executive from Kraken, whoever owns Kraken, do you want to come back on to be part of that show?
Absolutely.
Totally. So
send me an invite,
guys. We're running out of time. We've been on for
send me an invite, and I'll remember to I'll read. So Steve, I am not afraid of reaching out to anyone. I will literally reach out to the CEO of Kraken and say, hey, I need you on to do XYZ because we're doing Pirate Night or we're doing whatever it's going to take to get you on our show.
Funny thing.
So I am not afraid of talking to literally anyone.
So funny thing, Kraken Rum is actually bottled by Kraken Rum Co. From Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Not even the East Coast. So we can make this happen. But we've been on for like 2 hours, guys. We got to get through some of these photos here.
Geez.
So Steve, I feel bad. So
far,
Steve is in California.
Just so you guys know, the hashtag current wife, especially, I'm going to call her wife number one, the future ex-wife here, says, oh, for the love of God, stop with the tangents.
So we've been on for like 2 hours.
Texting me.
I want to get to these photos, not just for us. Steve, we can stay on with you all night. all night. Literally, after we get off here, let's hang out for a little while longer.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
for people watching and listening, this is a real thing. So, Pirates, so Tokyo Disney Seas. This is incredible. So, dude, Steve, honestly, I want to do a show with you specifically where you actually walk us through what it takes to build a ride versus like props versus miniatures versus this and that. I mean that we could talk. I'm not joking. We could do a whole podcast with just
Yeah.
your
I mean,
expertise alone.
we can all kind of idealize, I guess, what the building of a model would be. But I have some general thoughts of what, and I have a bit of an engineering background, so I have some general thoughts of what it would take to build a ride.
Yeah, well,
But
no, we can always do another show and really get into the weeds and all this stuff, whatever you like.
Another show.
Yeah. So before we get,
do you want to get to some of the movie stuff?
Yeah,
Wes,
totally.
Yeah, let's
one
go.
more Disney slide I want to hit before we get too deep is this guy here. This is
Oh my God, you're one of the 50.
Yeah, those are my sculptures. There was some of them were a tag team effort, but a lot of these I did myself. But yeah, these were all digital sculptures that I did that then we had them turn into bronzes at a foundry.
Dude. So
Thank you.
Wait, West, because you don't know, West, for all of you guys who don't know out there. I'm sorry, go ahead, West. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I heard you there.
Yep. Okay, I'll be 100% honest. We have a ton of digital assets from past projects and also from feature animation and from movies. But to tell you the truth, a lot of the time, there is a ton of work that we have to do and a lot of resculpting that has to be done to be able to translate these 3D models into the real world, into a physical object. So on these, I started with some digital assets, but I'm not even kidding you. I had to change some of these over 95% or more. Like some of these are unrecognizable from what the original sculptures were. They were so old, so off model. They did not even look like the characters at all. And some of them had no texture. They were completely in different poses. Like I had to create the poses, completely resculpt the anatomy, and again, make a lot of them on model because they were not even on model to what the real characters looked like. So there's a good portion of these that were 95 to 98% my sculpture.
Yeah.
Edna, we've done for a number of different projects. I've worked on her for a number of different things over the years. And so this file has actually evolved over the years. So I've worked on her a bunch in the past. And on this round, I didn't have to do a whole ton to Edna mode because we had already done a lot to her in the past. But I still had to do some tweaks, some fixing of her costume, her pose. I had to completely resculpt her hair and some of her facial expression and stuff. So there was still a lot of work on her, but
all right.
Yeah.
So I know my wife will know the answer to this, my hashtag current wife, but I know the name of Hey Hey. What is the name of the pig?
Pua.
Pua. Okay. Pua. Okay. Okay, and I see Gus over here. So one of the crazy things is there were some, I think it was it McDonald's who did in their Happy Meals did a series of the 50 of, for those of you guys who don't know, it's the 50th anniversary last year of Walt Disney World Orlando. and it was a huge ordeal, huge thing. And that was so. Did you just put up what did my hashtag current wife just say something?
She said
You put it up
Pua
and it
because
popped up on the
she
screen.
said Pua. She knew, of course.
Okay, yeah, of course she did. I mean, she's sitting on the couch at home, hundreds of miles away, going, "You're an idiot."
Hey, by the way,
Which is
Steve,
not untrue.
Steve, I'm going to ask a favor of you later in the show that's going to directly relate to David's current wife. But honestly, his wife is possibly the most knowledgeable Disney nerd ever to exist. If she went on Jeopardy with Disney topics, she'd win the $1 million prize.
Oh my God. Yeah. Guarantee she knows way more about Disney than I did. I haven't even seen the movie with Hey Hey and Pua. I didn't even know what they were from when I was working on them.
That's Moana.
I didn't.
That's Moana.
You're welcome.
So Wes tries to shelter his kids from a lot of Disney stuff, and I'm the bad uncle.
I don't shelter my kids from Disney stuff. No.
You have to deal with it.
I don't shelter my kids from Disney stuff. I refuse to let them watch. What is the Ice Queen thing? Frozen. Because I don't want to have to listen to those songs over and over again.
Dude,
I have nothing. I have no problem with Disney. But to shelter my sanity,
dude, you gotta let it go.
Let it go. Let it go, David. Let it go. Look, good reference. My children don't know that reference, and that's the important part. So Steve, here's the interesting part. So things like Pinocchio or Bambi or these mice from whatnot, and the fish from the thing with the fish.
Cinderella.
The thing with the fish. So how do you translate a 2D object?
Friend there.
How do you translate a 2D object into 3D and keep it realistic? Like that's a whole thing on its own, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That in a sense, you've just defined my job. We literally have to take these characters that only exist in 2D on a movie screen, and we have to bring them into reality. And so that is a massive challenge for us all the time, trying to interpret these figures into the 3D world, because in animation, they cheat things all the time in animation. They cheat expressions, they cheat poses, they cheat everything. In the real world, you can't cheat that. It has to read all the way around the character. It has to work. The anatomy has to work. You can't stretch and squash things and have it work in the real world. It has to be realistic anatomy. So that is a massive part of my job. It's just interpreting those two-dimensional characters and bringing them into the 3D world. And it can be really challenging at times, but it's what we do.
Dude, that's amazing. And the funny thing is, so I've actually had this same conversation with my current wife. So for a period of time, my kids were really into the Hotel Transylvania movies. They love these things.
Yeah.
And the things that drove me the most crazy is they clearly took a 2D illustration and tried to make it a 3D model. And the parts where that doesn't work, it's very obvious to my eye where it doesn't work. Now, my kids don't care. They think it looks great because they're, 4 and 6. But to my eye, it really bugs the crap out of me. And your job, essentially, is to overcome that and make it appealing to anybody who looks at it, really, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it can be really tricky because it's a very different thing going from a 2D world to a 3D world. A lot of it we have to make up. Like I said, we have to interpret it and make it make sense in the real world, So especially some of the trickiest characters are like the earliest animated figures for Disney, because those were just real simple 2D animation, and they have very simple form, very, very basic illustrations and not a lot of form. So when we're sculpting those in the real world, we have to be really careful to keep those features very subtle so it still reads as a simple animated character and not be overly sculpted to where it starts to look kind of creepy and too realistic.
I have a reference from Disney that is appropriate for the scenario. I recognize that silhouette anywhere, which is from Mary Poppins. And it does apply specifically to this, to where, yes, you want to portray that person in a 3D environment, but keep their 2D attributes or aspects so that it's recognizable easily.
Yep, that's
So-
exactly it. Yeah.
So,
Wes was over there shaking his head like, Dave, you don't know who you're talking about. And then I'm
No.
like, boom, laying some mad lines
David,
on you.
David, over the last 99 episodes, I have learned not to question your random bullshit knowledge. But
It does work.
but I've learned not to
Does
question
work.
it. Steve, I have to ask you. We've been on for like 2 hours. Are you okay to keep going?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
If you guys want to keep going through these photos or whatever
Because
you want to do,
we
that's
have
cool.
not touched your normal, like, just outside of Disney Hollywood photos.
Yeah,
So,
let's do it.
so I'll tell you what. Unfortunately, I'm a normal, average mortal being, and I do actually need to have the same break that you had a second ago, Steve. So, Steve, you and David keep going. I'll be right back.
All right, sounds good.
Brought to you in part by Arby's. Arby's, we have the meats.
I think it's the
So-
beef.
Yeah, probably that as well. So, Steve, I got to tell you, man, you've got one of the jobs that just, I think, is the bee's knees. I mean, there's just so few things out there. I mean, I live my life in the world of life safety, fire protection, mass notification. So when I go to Disney, I look at how the egress is out of this attraction to that attraction.
Yeah.
How do I look at the square footage of the egress to how, if something happens, how do I get something? I know last weekend, there was quite a bit of issues with some smoke issues over at Epcot. Those are the type of things that I live in, and that's what I do on almost on a daily basis.
Okay.
Is look at how do I keep the general population safe. You know, not necessarily from this event or that event, but from any event. It's this umbrella that I look at, and so I look at it from those broad things. And when I travel through this ride or this experience, when I get taken out of that and placed in, into that world, I take a great appreciation of it, because it's made me disconnect from who I naturally am, and has plugged me into the environment that the Imagineers have dreamt of. So, and that's why I brought up the earlier in the show. I brought up the Little Mermaid and the sculpting, because I haven't been out to the one in the Disneyland out in Anaheim yet, but I have spent many hours in Disney World and Epcot and Hollywood Studios and all of those, and the new Star Wars land and Toy Story Land and the Animal Kingdom and all these things down in Central Florida.
Yep.
And don't be wrong, I don't have a bad time, but I really take a special bit of pride when the Imagineers, because that's the way I look at it. I look at it as the Imagineers have invited me into their creation. And I absolutely love it. So basically in the Pirates of the Caribbean, my favorite part of the ride, and some people may take probably not offense, to be like, really, are you thinking about this all the way through? Some of my favorite parts of that ride is the queue to get onto the ride.
That's a great point.
Because it brings you in. And that's one of the things you talked about, working for Universal as well.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I thought Universal did exceedingly well. I was not blown away by the rides,
Mhm.
experiences, or anything at Universal, but I was interested and highly engaged into the lead up.
That's a great
And
point.
you know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good. It's,
One
I mean,
of the things-
it's something that I definitely want to know more about, and I can't wait for us to have more time to explore all those events.
Dude, one of the things that Universal, I think, and Disney does this too, but Universal, I think, excels at this, is the lines to get onto the exhibits and the rides is the experience. You don't feel like you're in a line. The whole experience with the props and the models and the molds and things
Apple
and things that
technology is angered at me.
and the
I'll be
things
right
that you produce, like you don't feel like you're waiting in a 2-hour line. You feel like you're already part of the exhibit before you even get there. Like that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean that's a big part of what we try to design into our attractions now. One of the biggest turning points for that was the Indiana Jones ride in Disneyland back in the early 90s.
Yeah.
That was a huge turning point for creating what we call a pre-show. That's literally the term for what you see when you're waiting in line. Something that can entertain you while you're sitting there waiting forever and ever and ever, losing your mind and bored out of your mind, and your kids are going crazy. You know, how can we entertain the guests before they actually get onto the attraction? If they have to wait for an hour to get on the ride or 2 hours, it should at least be a cool experience while they're sitting in line. So that was something that Disney really took into consideration. And in my opinion, I think one of the first attractions that really was so successful at that was the Indiana Jones ride. It was
totally,
like, in my opinion, I'm almost bummed when I run through the queue line really fast when there's no line and I get right up to the ride right away.
You want to experience all that stuff, right?
Yeah, dude. The line itself is so immersive and so cool, and there's so many hidden little details in there that I nerd out on that. So I really like the pre-show for Indiana Jones. But anyway, to your point, yeah, that's something that is a big part of everything we create now is what is the pre-show going to be? What are we going to do to entertain the guests while they're standing in a 2-hour line? You know, so I just got done working on a massive model for what's it called? I'm so terrible at remembering what I even worked on. That's a
good problem to have, man.
Avengers ride that
you're working on Avengers stuff?
Yeah, it's called, I think it's called Replay, and it's a roller coaster ride. And there's a pre-show when you're waiting.
Is it the Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Guardians of the Galaxy.
David.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
David.
You might not supposed to know
hang on? How does David, this other guy on the other side of the country that I won't use derogatory phrasing upon, how does this guy know more about you, an Imagineer? What's happening right now?
All right. I'm gonna come clean.
You told me about it while you were taking.
I do not care about Marvel stuff at all. It's not my thing. Excuse me. I'm not a Marvel guy. I'm not into superheroes. I'm not into comic
I love
books.
it all, man. Space, pirates,
that's okay.
Science fiction.
I really never even.
It's all good.
Nothing wrong or nothing go far.
No, it's all good, Steve. It is, dude. Preference is preference. If they could mix Marvel with pirates, with science fiction, with science fantasy, I'd watch it all.
Yeah, so, I know. It's just whatever, to each his own. It isn't my thing. So I really, when I was working on it, I really couldn't even remember what the heck it was for. But you're right. It's Guardians of the Galaxy. It's called Replay. It's a roller coaster. And when you're waiting in line, there's a massive model that is kind of like a futuristic city, and me and a couple guys built the entire thing. I sculpted all the rock work and did a bunch of the buildings and all that stuff, and they do projection effects on it to bring the whole city to life. So they're creating all of this cool animation on top of the model that we created to bring it to life. So that's just one example of a pre-show while you're waiting in line, something that just kind of entertains you and kills the time, before you're going into the ride.
So Steve, you and David need to recognize my current wife just literally asked me to pipe down. I cannot. I can't do it. You guys, Steve, you are breaking my brain right now. The stuff that I want to ask you and talk about is it's killing me.
Indeed.
Well, I'm glad you're having fun.
So, Steve, when you're like, hey, we're grasping at straws, we need something to do, I have an idea for the young kids, for the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse idea that will absolutely blow the minds. It will sell both with the adults, with the kids, with the Imagineers. It will sell with Disney executives. It is absolute gold.
Wow.
And,
okay.
I've got some drawings.
Steve's like, tell me, I want to raise.
That are absolutely phenomenal. That it's an idea. So if you ever get in a pinch and you're like, oh man, we really need something, call old Dave up. Dave is the world of ideas.
All right, man.
He says this now.
Ready to go.
Steve, I think that's the invitation to start our own agency. Let's make it happen.
All right, there it is.
But no, okay. So Steve, before we get too deep, we need to talk about your other Hollywood stuff, not just Disney stuff. Your background is mind-blowing. When I say that,
It's fantasmic.
That's not an exaggeration. David, you don't know the half of it. I didn't show you this stuff for a reason.
All right.
Okay.
Hold on, I've been waiting on this.
So
2.5 hours in, just so you go, 2.5 hours in.
Dang, what the heck?
Here we go. I am ready. I am primed. I'm good. I'm well sauced. West, lay it on me.
All right, let's
Bring it.
All right.
So Steve, you
Yeah. It's pretty ridiculous.
We're back to the island, West. We're back to the island. So, Steve, you're telling me you created this island. This island, while it is an amazing island, I don't know that it works with the Michael Myers theme that you went with the rest of the Michael Myers movie.
Yeah, we lost it. There it is.
There we go.
There
Okay,
it is.
I got it. All right. We got the kid play. All right, we got it.
Okay, so yeah, as I mentioned, like a lot of my movie work was done from 87 to 97. So I was like a kid, dude. In 87 when I started, I was only 15 years old working on Phantasm 2, and then I worked solid on movies up until about 97, and then I continued working on some movies all the way up to 2007. So some of my movie work even overlapped some of my Disney work. So I really did movie effects for about 20 years, but the first 10 years was solid. And this was just one of the movies I worked on. And I wanted to throw some funny photos in there with me as a dorky little kid with stupid hair, just so you guys could laugh.
Oh, that was you. That's you.
Yeah.
You.
So that's me. I'm about 16 years old here. Yeah, dude. Yeah. 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 Yeah, it was crazy. I mean,
So did you don the William Shatner mask?
No, because that's not even the William Shatner mask. That's a crappy mask from the Halloween 5.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that that's not the William Shatner mask.
Yeah.
Yes, but I mean, if I'm working on a Halloween movie, I'm like, no. In order to get into my zen, and I'm doing all the goofy, arm flailing and woo, got to get in my zone. I'm like, you got to bring me the William Shatner.
But
It's
David,
William Shatner or nothing.
can you imagine, David? So David, can you imagine being a 16-year-old boy working on a Phantasm or a fucking Halloween? Can you
Yeah,
imagine?
it was insane, man.
Hey, I would say family show, but we're nine.
No,
we're
you know
9:30,
what?
we're
You know what?
2.5
When
hours
there's
in.
this
Those
much
kids are asleep. So
when there's this much rum involved, I think I can use the F-bomb. Can you imagine using? Can you imagine
Why is
being on
God,
the Halloween set, working with props when
that
you're
would be
16
wicked.
years
That
old?
would be wicked. So,
David,
so
that's
give me
old.
a
Hang on, David.
reminder of
David,
what Halloween
David,
5
David,
was.
David,
it the,
David. Wait,
oh,
wait,
okay.
wait. That. How old is your son, David?
He's 17.
Older. Your son is older than Steve was when he was working on Halloween.
I've been telling Noah for years he's a bum. I've been like, you're a bum, Rocco.
Get a job.
Yeah, it was,
Get a
it was
haircut and a
crazy,
job.
man. When I was working on these movies, I was still a sophomore in high school, and I would have to get permission from my parents and from the
Unbelievable.
school to go on set. So I would literally have to get a permission slip signed and then give that to my school, and then my boss, he would come and pick me up at like 3 a.m.
No way.
And we'd go on set, and we'd be on set for like 20 hours, and we'd do this many days in a row working on these movies. And then I had to make up all of my schoolwork, because it wasn't like they were excusing me from my schoolwork, but there was no way in hell I was going to miss out on these opportunities to work on this movie. So I literally had to balance being a teenager in high school and working on these crazy movies. It was nuts.
You know what, now I got to look at it and go, so
Dude.
Jamie Lee Curtis?
No. Your
What?
boss,
It's a
Steve.
joke.
Steve, your boss picked you up at your home to come and work on Halloween.
Yeah, so on a lot of the movies I would go on set for, but some of the movies we didn't even have to go on set for. We would just make the props and send them off, and they would film with them and stuff. But so backing up to answer your question, on Halloween 5, we made what was called all of the safety knives and special effects knives.
Okay.
So we made all of the knives that were used for stabbing and for slicing and for bleeding and things like that, where they had to be used for stunts so that they could be used for all of these special effects shots. Awesome.
David, that's David right now. I'm not doing that.
These knives, so we had a mold that was from a movie called Intruder. And Intruder was a film done by Sam Raimi, and it was a slasher flick that took place in a grocery store. And there was this guy in the grocery store who was killing off all the kids, right? That worked there. And so we had the mold for those butcher knives. Now, the guys who did, and I know you guys have probably heard of these guys, because there's very few people in the world who don't know of these guys by now, but Greg Nicotero and KNBFX. So
wait, who are these losers that you I've never heard of before?
So Greg Nicotero.
I'm kidding.
I'm
kidding.
In different circles.
I'm kidding.
He's the effects artist. Him and KNB were the main effects artists for The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And they've done like a million other movies and stuff. But back in the day, in the 80s, they were just kind of starting out. They did the makeup effects for Intruder and also for Halloween 5. And so we did the physical effects for those movies, the butcher knives and all of that stuff. So that's how that all kind of happened, was through K&B and Greg Nicotero and all that stuff. Yeah. Let's keep cruising.
That's cool. Oh my god! Oh my god! The fucking 12 monkeys! Oh my god! 12 monkeys! 12 Monkeys. This one has a special place in my heart because my Uncle Chris, who passed away, this was the movie. This was our movie. We watched this movie.
Man.
I literally broke my brain trying to figure this movie out. And oh my God, I'm just, when there's a scene where he's like, oh, zip it to the forward, zip it to the past. And I'm sitting here going, yeah, you zip it forward, you zip the past, you zip it forward, you zip the past. Oh my God. It is, I like a lot of Bruce Willis movies. All right. The Fifth Element, all of the Die Hards. I mean, that is Christmas to me, is Die Hard. But of all of them, 12 Monkeys is, to be honest, if somebody came out and said, hey, I want to do a remake of 12 Monkeys, I'm like, I'm not going to knock them. I mean, I don't think you can improve upon it.
Yeah.
Damn, I would love another shot at that movie.
Well, Steve,
dude,
to that point,
that was-
Steve, I have to ask you, to your detriment, what do you think about the series remake?
You're asking me?
Steve.
I actually haven't seen the series.
Good answer.
I
I've
haven't
only
seen the series either.
Good
I've
answer.
only seen the movie, and to tell you the truth, I was stoked to be a part of that because I was a massive Terry Gilliam fan. Terry Gilliam, from
Monty Python stuff. He's a Monty Python legend.
Monty Python.
Yes.
Terry Gilliam's a genius, and so to get to even be a part of this movie he did was just awesome. And we not only did we do the suits, but we got to do a lot of other props in the movie too. I just put a photo of the suits there because the suit was so memorable from the beginning of the movie.
It was because it was the opening. It was the kind of the opening part where they go out into the world, as it was, and collect biological samples.
So
post-apocalyptic.
So Steve,
before. I'm sorry, Wes. I'll let you get to it. I'm sorry. I'll let you get to it in a moment. But Beyonce really deserved this award.
Thanks, Kanye. I get it.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure everybody got that reference. To be honest, I wasn't sure I got that reference. But no, it was before everything really started rolling, and it set the scene. It didn't set the scene. It set the tension for the movie.
Yeah,
it set the tension.
So
for the movie.
Steve, I have to ask. You worked on or made the hazmat suits.
Yep, it was me and my buddy Rick. We created those hazmat suits, and all of those crazy gadgets that you see on them on the left there, that's underneath the plastic suit. We either made those from scratch, or we did what's called kit bashing by finding parts that we could piece together to create that. And it was supposed to have sort of that vintage but also futuristic look to it at the same time. Yeah.
We made it in the future from retro parts.
Yeah, exactly. There really was. Yeah, it kind of had that sort of sense of style to it. Yeah. So what you just described there, that's exactly what we call kit bashing in the industry, where you take bits and pieces and parts and piece them together. But we did a combination of kit bashing parts and then also creating some of the stuff from scratch. Like we literally hand machined and milled parts out of plexiglass and metal, and then filled in the gaps where we needed to, because we were given when you work on a really big budget film like this, like a huge movie, they have production designs, right? So they have a production designer who illustrates what they want, and then they give that to us, and then we take the production designs and then we bring it to life, right? We have to create the suit. So they gave us those production designs, and then we just had to get as close as we could by creating all of these parts and everything. And they had a body cast. I think it was like a rigid foam body cast of Bruce Willis that we built the suit over the top of. That way they knew it would fit him perfectly.
It's just mind blowing, Steve. You're killing me here. So we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going. I could talk all down every single one of these slides. Next thing is the Abyss. The Abyss. I might have been. So hang on, David. No, David.
Okay,
David.
All right, go ahead.
Steve.
I don't see it.
I might be showing my age or maybe your age. I don't know, one of the two. I might have been 10 years old when I saw the Abyss for the first time. And my head might have exploded off my shoulders. You built the miniatures for this model. And here's the great thing. So for those of us who are slightly younger than the Abyss target audience, to put it in a marketing phraseology, thank you, David. The Abyss. I'm getting off track here. Okay, for those of us who might be a little younger, who are into the
for you guys
the Lord. Hang on.
To hear me talk about all the time about bullet points.
No,
this is why Wes needs bullet points.
I need bullet points. I do, because I think of the Lord of the Rings, who made a hybrid of CG and practical effects. Yeah. Now, the Abyss is a prime example of that, and you built live action miniatures for the Abyss
30 plus years before.
30 plus years before the Abyss, and you built these practical models for this movie, and it's blowing my mind that you actually built these, because I remember this movie specifically. It scared the crap out of me.
Really? I bet you were scared of Never Ending Story.
Yeah, so this was.
I loved the Abyss.
I was part of a crew. There was quite a few people working on this. There were big teams of people building all these models, and me and my boss were working on this. And we had done this year, 1988. We worked on 3 of these underwater movies. There was like a whole bunch of them that were happening that year. There was Leviathan, Lords of the Deep, Deep Star 6, and The Abyss. And I worked on 3 of those. I worked on The Abyss, Deep Star 6, and Lords of the Deep. And the same model makers, the visual effects guys that worked on The Abyss and Lords of the Deep, were the Academy Award-winning team that did all the models for Aliens for James Cameron. So
no way.
Bob and Dennis Skotek, who are probably still, hands down, the most amazing model makers and visual effects guys ever in the industry. And so we were lucky enough to be part of their crew and work with them, building the models for The Abyss and also for Lords of the Deep. And so that was a really cool experience working with those guys. Here's a funny story. When I was on Lords of the Deep with them, they had to build this submarine, it was like a little small submersible submarine. And
was it yellow?
Yes, it was yellow. And I helped them make this. And just for a joke, just for a goof, they said, we're going to make this submarine out of only things you can find in your bathroom.
Was this like a challenge? Like they challenged each other? Like
it was like a challenge. It was like a challenge for the team, and every single thing on this little freaking submarine had to be made out of stuff from a bathroom. So we had like the bobber from the tank inside your toilet. The main body was built all out of plastic Kleenex boxes, and it was all kit bashed out of plastic, our bathroom parts. And then it just got this incredible paint job, and we put little nerdy parts on it. And next thing you know, there was this like amazing movie model all done out of bathroom parts, and it was hilarious, man.
Did you say that phrase is called kit bashing?
Yes, kit bashing.
All right, dude. So when we start this podcast, Crazyology, we're gonna do multiple shows on kit bashing. and we're gonna bash the crap out of these kits. Cause, dude, that is ridiculous. That is unbelievable.
I don't quote me on this, but I really think that term happened from Star Wars because when they were building Star Wars models, they had no budget, right? It was super low budget. So they were literally just going to every hobby store in town and they were buying all the plastic model kits of, World War II airplanes and muscle cars and everything they could find. And they were just pulling little pieces and chunks out of all these models and then piecing them together to make spaceships.
Yes.
And that became the term kit bashing because it was from model kits.
Do you remember the video I sent you not too long ago? Robot Bastard.
Yes, I love that.
You and I and David are going to get together with...
you and I and David.
You and I... No, I'm not joking. The three of us are going to get together with the creator of that film, and we are going to make this a thing.
All right.
This is going to be the next Star Wars.
So
this is going to be the next
talking
Spaceballs.
about
This is what's going to happen.
All right.
Sounds good to me.
There was actually a huge story on Spaceballs earlier today. So Steve, you were talking about kind of these challenges to pull things off. If I say the name Michael Gambon, do you know who I'm talking about?
Michael Gambon. Come on.
I don't.
Okay.
Oh,
So
I'm sorry,
Michael
Steve.
Gambon is the second actor to play Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore in the Harry Potter series.
Well, look, and Michael Gambon is fine.
Oh.
Let's not go on a rant on Michael Gambon. And
No,
the first
but
actor, I can't remember his name, he was
Richard
made...
Harris.
He was
Richard
made...
Harris, yeah. He's a legend.
Richard Harris,
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was great. He did a great job in The Count of Monte Cristo. It was great things. But Michael Gambon, one of the things that him and his compatriots used to do during their promotional interviews with the press would be to have challenges. And when you were talking about making a submarine out of items that you would find in your everyday loo, it kind of flashed in my memory. That kind of sounds like some of the things that Michael Gambon would get up into with his interviews. So there was one time, and I can't remember the actual name of the actress in play, but there was a challenge before they went on and said, at every interview, you have to turn it and make it about this specific actress's or specific person's underpants.
Nice.
And so
I love it.
So as he goes on about it, and the person talked to him goes, "Was it difficult?" He goes, "All knows a piece of cake." And he goes on. So you think of Gandalf, and people think of the more severe Gandalf, not Gandalf. Holy crap! Somebody is about to come through this window and take me out.
Harry.
Harry. To Gambon, Michael Gambon, for Dumbledore. People think of the more severe Dumbledore, not Gandalf. Dear Lord. Man, there are some Lord of the Rings people out there right outside the hotel that are ready to
Ian
lynch me
McClellan.
right now.
So Ian McClellan should have been Dumbledore. I get where you're going.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm not getting there. I'm just saying that those kind of challenges and those type of things that was reminiscent of Michael Gambon. And it takes a special person to kind of really understand the sense of humor that they brought to it. So the challenge of building a submarine out of the everyday articles that you would find in a common loo, that's impressive to me because
it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
All right. Challenge accepted. Barney from How I Met Your Mother. Challenge accepted. Let's bring it.
All right. So,
Hey, you guys, could I take one more just quick break real quick? I'll be right back.
Please do.
Just a couple seconds.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
All right.
Okay. So, David, we are currently very much in left field. Let's bring it back to center field a little bit.
We are nowhere near left field. Everything we have said has been on topic with the idea.
And I agree. And I agree.
It's been wonderful. This has
I
been
agree.
one of my favorite shows of all of the 99 that we've done before.
We've been going for 2 hours and 49 minutes.
For enough that West is drunk enough to go, we've been going for 49.
40.
Less drunk.
We've been going for 49. Hey, hang on. 2 hours and 49 minutes. No, 2 hours and 49 minutes. So we're going to bring back a little bit and finish up these images. We may actually start a brand new podcast just with Steve's influence called Crazyology. It's blowing my mind.
It is purchased. It is under our influence. It is ready to go.
David,
it is.
Tell me this.
I'm not against this.
I don't think it's a bad idea at all.
I don't think it's a bad idea at all. I think it's a great idea. I mean, what the hell? I've got at least 3 minutes to spare in a week.
You're not doing anything else. Dave, what else are you doing with your time? Nothing is the answer to that.
I'm just trying to get south, my friend.
You got nothing else going on.
Yes, indeed. So, back to something we talked about earlier was our candles. And I can't wait. And I know it doesn't seem as rugged and manly to some people as it would to others, but we have the Underdog Journey candle scents that are launching that you'll be able to get. Put down in the comments kind of what you think the name should be, because we're going to have a tobacco, a sweet tobacco, a sweet pipe tobacco scent, and we are going to. Do you remember what the name of that tobacco was, Wes, that you had?
So the one that I sent you was actually Lane 1Q, which was it's aromatic, and it's a it's kind of a sweet
candy.
It's like smoking candy. It's delicious, and that's true with a lot of aromatics.
I was smoking it yesterday. Last night, laying in bed, I'm like, "Oh, my beard smells good."
It's true.
My beard smells good.
It's true.
And my wife's like, "What the hell are you doing over there, you snoring fat old guy?"
Well, that's what my wife says to me every day.
She does that every night. I get it. I mean, that's why we call her my current wife. I mean, it's only so much she's going to put up with. But then we're also going to have a vanilla leather bourbon scent as well. Plus, West needs to send us one. We need to get a sample of the scent. And so we're going to have 3 candles at launch of the Underdog Journey candles. I will talk about the guy who's producing them, who is out of New York in my neighborhood, in my area of where I live now. And they make a lot of stuff already. And they're going to make the Underdog Journey their custom candles. It's going to be very exciting. And there we go.
He's got it. He's got the Peterson. Yeah. He's got the Peterson St. Patrick's Day special there.
Nice.
We got it.
Very nice. I see you got the green stem as well there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'll just drink my rum.
Nice. Pipe guys know.
All right, so here we are. West Mother Carnahan. Bring it on. What's our next image? Wait. We're gonna go back to the Abyss real quick, because why not? Because that's what I do. I love to throw tangents in. So the Abyss, there is actually wait a minute. There is one part of the Abyss that not only goes from the Abyss, but to he's a huge Robert Langdon series. Hold on a second. I'll Google it up real quick. I need to. So that is that's Dan Brown. That's Dan Brown for everybody. So there is there is a scene out of the Abyss that ties directly to the Robert Langdon series in The Lost Symbol, where they in the Abyss they use it to be able to dive very deep, but in the Robert Langdon series it is about sensory deprivation, and it is inhaling a oxygenated fluorocarbon so that you can breathe liquid oxygen into your lungs. So in both of them, they tie in very well. And look at West over there, like, oh my God, yes, I am that kind of nerd. I remember these types of things.
I'm not
Let me
going to
know
bring
when
up
they
Those are two
invent
things
a
that I
way
bring
to
up.
inhale rum. That's what I'm waiting for.
Dankeschön, Steve. Dankeschön. I'm not going to bring up Dan Brown and or his writing prowess. Dan, if you're
All right.
watching, I'm sorry.
Hey, Dan Brown and I are very good friends. And any chance I get to promote Mr. Dan Brown, I will do so.
Oh, he said this, then she said that,
Right.
then he said this, then he said that. Oh,
You know
Dan
what?
Brown, I'm
Just click your
sorry.
button.
Let's move
Just
on.
click your button, Mr.
All right,
Cameraman.
moving
Let's
on.
go.
Moving on. Moving on. Before we get into trouble.
Says the artist does a OMG.
Yeah, so this was
first thing that you guys need to know, this is the episode of Batman where the Batsuit has nipples. Oh, that's Michael Keaton. Yes, I'm sorry.
yeah, this is the second one with Michael Keaton.
Corrected and wrong 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, Danny DeVito is the Penguin. Yep.
Yes, this is still Michael Keaton. This is not George Clooney.
This is still when Tim Burton is directing these movies. So he did the first two, Batman and Batman Returns. And honestly, I actually prefer Batman Returns. I think it's a little more darker and fantasy and whimsical and kind of fun. I don't know. I just really find part 2 really fun, Batman Returns. But yeah.
So the only problem I have with this is because it's Jim Burton. The only problem I have with this is because it's Jim Burton is where is Helen Bonham Carter and yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Wes. Whatever. Well, he didn't actually ask me about these, but had he had this, I am absolutely perfect with the Danny DeVito as the Penguin is the perfect Penguin.
Steve, how much feedback did you get from Tim Burton?
Okay, yeah, that's a much better question.
I honestly didn't get nearly as much feedback as Dave. I mean, I think Dave got quite a bit more feedback from Tim Burton, honestly, yeah.
Well, actually, I think Dave's feedback comes from the rum.
I agree. Well, so this was a project that I did with a team of people at a shop called the Creature Shop. Before they had to change their name to the Character Shop because Jim Henson's team was going to sue them for using the Creature Shop. But yeah. So this was a shop that was started by a guy who was one of Stan Winston's main special effects guys. This was a guy by the name of Rick Lazzarini. And Rick Lazzarini branched off from Stan Winston. And I'm sure, I think you guys probably have heard of Stan Winston. He did Aliens and Jurassic Park and Terminator. Yeah, okay. So he's a very well-known Academy Award-winning special effects artist. And he had a really great team in the 80s. And Rick Lazzarini was one of his main mechanical effects guys who designed a lot of the mechanical effects for the Queen Alien on Aliens. He branched off, started his shop called the Creature Shop. And when he did, I jumped over with him. I think 91 was the first year I worked with Rick Lazzarini on Hook, which I know you have a photo of there. But I did a number of movies with Rick Lazzarini when it was the Creature Shop. And this was one of the movies, Batman Returns. And Stan Winston did all of the animatronic penguins, and we did all of the armor and the missiles and their little radar things they wear on their head and all of the costumes that literally had to be put on the real penguins. So they had about 60 real penguins. They had what were called emperor penguins, which were about 3
Yeah,
to
yeah.
4 feet tall. And there was, actually, I think there was more than 60 of them. And it
And
took,
notoriously, they are divas. They want their own
oh,
trailers. They
they're
want
crazy.
their own fish.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know, you're
it's
not
just a
even kidding.
nonstop issue.
Those penguins were insane, dude. It took like 2 or 3 people to wrangle each one of those penguins because they were so nuts and everything. And
Dude,
then they had to put the
No,
armor
wait.
on them that we made and the
imagine
missiles.
this.
It was
Imagine
just
this,
crazy.
that you get to put on your resume, penguin wrangler.
I didn't know. Dude, I was not a penguin wrangler. They had specific penguin
That's what I'm saying,
wranglers
there's
for
people
that.
out there that are
We couldn't
penguin
even touch them.
wranglers.
We weren't
Steve.
even allowed to touch the penguins.
You're telling me that you actually put real props on real penguins?
Well, we made
Did
the
you
props,
not see the movie?
and somebody else put them onto the real penguins. Yes.
That's insane. You couldn't do
Yes.
that. You couldn't do that today. You couldn't do that today.
Probably not. It was pretty nuts, and you can see there's a lot of footage in the film of the real penguins running around with our missiles
Yeah,
and
there
our
is.
armor.
There's a
Yeah.
lot there. I mean,
And there's some really
as
good
a-
behind the scenes making of footage too, where you can see a lot of that. But yeah, I bet today they'd probably just do it all CG.
that would be
Yeah.
an atrocious offense. So what was it that was recorded here? Was it? I think it might have actually been the Lord of the Rings that they recorded on film as opposed to digital. Oh, it was The Hobbit. It was The Hobbit. The three movie series of The Hobbit. Instead of recording it to solid state, they actually recorded that movie, all 3 movies with film.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So
Wow.
Yeah,
Peter Jackson actually insisted on film and practical effects. So that's where that's coming from.
As much as you can, because I mean that's the more practical, the more feeling. In my opinion, it's just my opinion. The more
Peter-
practical, the more feeling you get interacting. The more
Yeah,
easily
totally.
you connect with the viewer.
Peter
in
Jackson
that
is
series.
another one of those directors who really has helped kind of the resurgence of practical effects. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Peter Jackson's background before Lord of the Rings. That guy was known for doing the most bloody, cheesiest, goriest, campiest B horror movies you've ever seen in your life. It's really, dude, I'm not kidding
Like
you.
Rob
It's really
Zombie.
crazy to see where this guy's career arc has gone from the bloodiest, cheesiest horror movies to one of the largest, most successful trilogies in film history.
Yeah, one
It's
of the most
amazing. But
successful
go back
franchises ever.
Go back and look at a movie called Dead Alive. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
That's
you
him?
need to look up
I know
Dead
that one.
Alive, and that's Peter Jackson in his early years at his
I
best.
didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I've seen it, but I did not even know that.
Oh, it's insane. It's one of what at the time it was the bloodiest movie ever made. They spent like 60% of their budget just on fake blood.
That's amazing. That is awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So I'm gonna get.
All right. That's another crazy little dude with stupid hair. Yeah, check him out.
I believe that's the same. That's a Kid and Play, I believe is what you called him earlier.
Yeah, so this was the miniature creature that was used for a bunch of miniature shots. And unfortunately, I think the majority of those shots they ended up cutting out of the film. There's only like a couple quick little shots of it because they ended up using the full-size creature in most of the shots. But we were working with a special effects legend by the name of Mark Shostrom, who is he was insane. So Mark Shostrom is one of those names that a lot of people don't know, but they know his work. So we first worked with him on Phantasm 2. He did all the makeup effects on Phantasm 2, but he's the guy that did all of the awesome makeup effects in Evil Dead 2. He did everything you see in there, all the most amazing effects in that. He worked on a lot of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies and stuff. And so we had we had done a couple projects with him. We did Monsters TV show, which was in the late 80s. That was it was kind of a spin-off from Tales from the Dark Side. So we did a couple episodes of Monsters, and we were just working a lot with Mark Sjostrom. And Mark Sjostrom got this job to do this crazy creature for Deep Star 6 and hired us to do a lot of the mold work, the fiberglass work, the miniature. And so that was actually one of the, this is kind of a funny story. That was the very first creature or prop that I ever airbrushed for a movie. So this was me literally learning how to airbrush. But what a lot of people don't know is I'm 85% colorblind. I'm actually colorblind.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, so I do a ton of painting. I have painted a lot of things in my life for movies, for Disney, a lot of things, but I've biffed it really bad at times. And this creature was one of the first times I messed up really bad on a movie because of my colorblind issue. But this creature, I'll keep the story short, but this creature, I don't know if you still have the photo of it, but it was about 25 yeah, so there was about 25 separate little parts that made this creature. Okay? And what I did was I assembly lined it. So I lined up all the parts and I did like a base coat, and then I did some like skin patterns on it. Then I would do the shadowing on it, and then I would do some highlighting. And basically I would just run through all the parts and do it like an assembly line, right? Well, I got completely done painting it, and then I realized there was a part that was missing. And I was like, oh my God, you're kidding me. I missed a part. It was like sitting over on a shelf, and I totally missed it. So now I had to go back and try to match all those colors because I had assembly lined it all, right? And I'm colorblind. So I tried to match it the best I could. I put it all together, and then my boss comes in to take a look at it. And he's looking at it, and he's like, wow, dude, you did a great job. This looks really cool. And he's like staring at it, and he's like, he's like, dude, Steve, what happened right here on the face? And there was this little mandible part, and I couldn't even tell, but I had painted it like this day glow screaming green, like lime green color, which was totally different from the rest of it. And it, like, to him, it stood out like a sore thumb. To me, I couldn't even tell. And so unfortunately had to like figure out how to repaint that. But yeah, it was so bad because that one part was just like screaming, and it was so different from the rest of it.
That is awesome.
Cool. So I did some quick look at some of the works that you're talking about from Mark is
Mark Sjostrom.
Yeah, is Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh yeah.
And one of my absolute favorite horror style movies, The Glass House.
Oh, okay.
And I wouldn't put those together, but Buffy the Vampire Slayer, everybody knows the death scene at the end, which is just hilarious. As far as the movie goes. But The Glass House with Matthew Lillard is, he's not the world's greatest actor, but he was perfect for that movie. And the interactions and all of the physical effects that you got out of that movie were just phenomenal. So, this is a guy you've got to work with that is absolutely at the top of the list.
Well, hang on, David. We're not to the next slide yet. Wait until we get here.
But wait, there's more.
Hook. You worked on Hook. Steve, you worked on Hook.
This was definitely one of my favorites. I thought the movie was really fun. It was a blast to work on. This was literally the first movie I did at Rick Lazarini's shop, the character shop. And we did a ton of props for this movie. We did all these giant animatronic sunflowers and dandelions and different flowers that were in the Lost Boy area. And we did the 6 foot tall Barbie and Ken dolls that were in the dollhouse with Julia Roberts.
Mhm.
We did all of the Julia Roberts puppets where she's flying as Tinkerbell. So we did all the Tinkerbell puppets. We did Thudball, which was so fun. That was the
That's
little
awesome,
Lost Boy
yeah.
kid that rolls himself into a bowling ball and bowls down all the pirates. And it was a blast, man. It was some crazy stuff.
That is absolutely total bangarang.
Bangarang, exactly.
Rufio.
And that's
Rufio.
that's awesome. That's my childhood right there. Hook is ridiculous.
That is it right there. I mean, Hook is. I mean, I was sitting here doing the whole time, like, tick tock, Hook supreme, big gold clock. On and on and on and on. I mean, that movie with
so
Robin Williams and everything that went into that movie was phenomenal.
That movie was huge. I mean, those sets they built, that entire pirate village and that pirate ship were just unbelievable, just phenomenal. There was no Popeye in that. Sorry.
No,
sorry.
The sets they built were ridiculously large. You're right.
I'm sorry, that was 100% drunk Dave.
You'll get a lot of that, Steve. Don't worry. You'll get a lot of that. The next one up, though.
But there's a lot of this rum bottle missing. Here, let's pull the light over here.
So rum hits you pretty quick. I'm finding that on myself.
It's pretty empty.
So rum hits pretty quick. I'm finding that myself. So the next one up is Men in Black. Steve, that's massive.
Yeah, I gotta say, of all the movies I worked on, this is the one that gets the most attention. That, for me personally, is probably one of my favorite films I ever worked on. Not just because of what we got to create.
Mm-hmm.
I just think the movie is so fun. I think it's so creative and so awesome, and it was so original. But when we were working on this
earlier about the integration between physical effects and special effects.
Mm-hmm.
And storyline. So we have storyline, physical effects, and special effects. And this movie right here, and I had no idea you had any part of it. So Wes specifically kept all of these things from me so he could get my live reaction on it. And to me, Men in Black has the storyline, the physical effects, all the action, all the stuff that goes on to it physically, plus the special effects, with the exception of the upside down Ford Crown Victoria going through the Holland Tunnel.
Well, come on.
But with the exception of that, all of the other stuff on it is just.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just amazing. I love it. So tell me what you've done on Men in Black. Give me the
this was a huge movie. These were all designs that were done by a production designer that had to be approved by Steven Spielberg, because this was a Spielberg produced movie. This was Amblin Entertainment, and he was very involved in this. So it was pretty high level. We had to create all these props, and every step of it had to be approved by a team, of people on this project, including Spielberg. So the prop master, the production designer, and Spielberg, and the different producers, and the director, Barry Soderbergh, everybody had to be, okay with these. They all had to buy off on our props. So it was pretty high level stuff. But we didn't know when we were working on this. Oftentimes, when we're working on a movie, we're so disconnected from it, right? We're doing our little part over here, and then we hand it off to the movie, and the film gets made, right? And we don't know the script. We don't know everything that's happening. So when we made all of these props for the movie, we had no idea how iconic they were going to become and how showcased they were going to be in the movie. In fact, these weapons we made all of the hero weapons.
Wait, Steve, I got to interrupt you. Wes, what is the name of the weapon that Will Smith uses originally in Men in Black?
The cricket?
The noisy cricket.
Noisy
Good
cricket.
enough. I'll take it. Steve, continue.
So the noisy cricket was my favorite of everything we made, and I did like, gosh, I probably did about 90% of the work on the noisy cricket. It was absolutely one of my favorites. But we created all of that stuff, and we had no idea that it was going to be on every single movie poster, on all the billboards. They were going to make toys of all this. Like, all of the advertising included all of our props, and it was amazing. We did the flashy things, the neuralizers that erase your memory. We did all of that. We did all of the main hero weapons and gadgets, and it was cool, man. It was crazy.
Also brought to you in part by rum. You can use a neuralizer or you can use rum.
Absolutely. Either one will erase your memory.
It will leave you with some blank spaces.
That's absolutely true.
That is absolutely cool. So what else did you work on with the box of Men in Black?
So I actually, about a year ago, I released a video on my YouTube channel that has the entire creation of the weapons. I show all of my own personal photos. I talk about how we created all the weapons, and I even have a special tutorial on there of how we created these little secret alien brains that are actually cut out of the movie. So this is a secret that a lot of people don't know about, but all of the guns, all of the weapons in Men in Black are controlled by little alien brains, and they look like little squid creatures. And if you look at the weapons close enough, you'll see a little tank, and there will be a little squid creature inside the tank. And that little squid creature is like the brain that controls the gun and gives the gun its power. And they filmed a lot more of it, but ultimately cut a lot of it out of the movie. So in my video on my YouTube channel, I talk a lot more about those little squid creatures, the alien brains, and I even show a tutorial how to make those. So it's kind of fun if you want to check it out.
That would be cool. So that is under Grimwood Hollow. Is that where that's what if we said, hey, viewers at large, we are 3 hours and 17 minutes into our and you are just now wondering where can you get more information about Steve Catronio, is it Grimwood Hollow? Is that where I want to send them?
Absolutely, yeah. So Grimwood Hollow is the name of our Halloween display that we do, but on our channel, I also post videos of special effects work I do, or special effects work that I've done in the past. I just did a video on all the weapons and props that we did for Stargate. I did a video on the bombs that we did.
Wait. Un momento, por favor, senores and senoritas.
Oh, he said Stargate. Don't you worry.
You said Stargate.
Oh, he said Stargate.
Are you talking movie Stargate or television series Stargate?
Can you see? Oh, I'm terrible. Right there on the wall. Wait, right there. That's an actual weapon from the movie Stargate hanging on my wall right there.
From the film, not just the TV series.
So James Spader to me is one of the great actors that we have overlooked throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as James Spader goes, Stargate is hands down his best work.
Yeah. Oh,
he's awesome in that.
Yeah.
Totally.
I know everybody loves him from The Blacklist, and there's a couple other things here and there, but he voices Ultron from the Age of Ultron of the Avengers.
Yeah, he does. You're right.
But even above that, his whole thing from the ancient Egyptian history and evolution that brings him into the Stargate world, that is the thing that brings me in and says, you know what, James Spader, if you're in something, I'm going to at least take a chance to watch it.
He's a great actor. He really is. I agree though. I really love him in Stargate. I think he's such a fun character in that. He was a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was I saying? I can't remember now. Stargate.
You were saying how
awesome
David Leffingwell is.
So I have a video. I have a video on the Stargate weapons, and I also have a video on the nuclear missiles we did for Broken Arrow, and then I have the video for all of the weapons and props we did for Men in Black. And I'll probably be posting a ton more videos in the future.
Now you bring in Broken Arrow.
Steve
brought up Broken Arrow.
Steve, you're opening cans of worms here.
I'm a fan of Christian Slater as well. Christian Slater did a great job in Cuffs, but his best movie was Broken Arrow. I mean, he did good jobs in Cuffs. I get it. I like his movie, but Broken Arrow was just a phenomenal movie. That oh man, there's just so much to it. It's really hard.
We literally made the Broken Arrows. That's what we made.
Nice. Oh, okay. All right.
That was pretty crazy.
All right, Wes, you're up. Show us the next one. What do you got next?
Oh, we got more coming up here. Hang on. Okay, hang on. So only a couple more here left with the Hollywood stuff before we get into the Grimwood Hollow stuff. We got so much stuff to go. We got the Sandlot. We got the Beast from the Sandlot. You guys remember the Sandlot?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
So-
we did the Beast Creature Dog from the Sandlot.
So
too.
Steve, funny thing, when I first saw that movie, it didn't even enter my mind that wasn't all a real dog. Like that's how good it was.
Yeah, well, so
Really?
in the beginning of the movie, right? The kids are scared of this crazy dog that's on the other side of the fence, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted to portray this dog through the eyes of a terrified child. So they wanted the dog at first to actually look like a monster.
Mhm.
So when you first catch glimpses of the dog, like when the baseball goes over the fence and they're trying to create all of those contraptions to get their baseball bat,
Mhm.
and you see the dog attacking it, you just see these quick shots of the dog, and he looks almost demonic. He looks like a monster
Yeah.
until they really finally show the dog, and then it is a real dog. But in the
it's a Saint
beginning of the
Bernard,
film, they really wanted it to look like a monster dog.
Yeah,
And
and,
it does.
I get it. You know, for those of us who grew up in areas where our said next door neighbors had dogs and whatnot, we all know that dog. We all know that demonic beast.
Yeah.
That if our ball went
Absolutely.
over there, you know what you have? You don't have a ball anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Fair
the bottom-
point.
It's the bottom line.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah, that was a fun one.
and now I have to get to, of course, Phantasm.
There it is.
There it is.
I'm not gonna sleep now. Thank you very much.
There's me with more really bad hair hanging out with Angus Scrim, the tall man.
It wasn't bad. It was very kid and play. It was far for the time.
Okay.
It was fine.
Okay. In my defense, what you're not seeing, So I was a little skater punk rock kid, right? But what I would do, and what you're not seeing here, is I would put a bunch of gel in my hair and then I would spike it, so it was really cool and spiked.
Uh-huh.
But this is me being lazy because I had to like go on set at like 3 a.m. or something like that, and so I didn't make it all spiky and cool. So now it just looks like kid and play.
No, dude. Anybody who works on Phantasm and
I'm gonna
Halloween.
go back and rewatch the Phantasm movies now.
We have
because
to.
of this. Because of this, I have to rewatch them.
we have to.
Part two, honestly, and I'm not just saying that because I worked on it, but part 2 has the best effects in it. It has just some really fun, imaginative makeup effects that Mark Shostrom did, and all of the sphere effects that I got to help out with, which again, my boss, he was the mastermind. He was the engineer. He gets the credit for that. I was just his little knucklehead helper back then. I was only 15.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
You talked about
but he was
evolving and
amazing.
growing past. You talked about evolving and growing past him in your career and in your development. And, you know, we all, because this is a business podcast, you know, even at 3 hours and 24 minutes into it, you know, I feel as if we should drop some nuggets of knowledge that, you know, even though you have a mentor or something like that, eventually you have to evolve past them. So there is a great, and I'm going to paraphrase this, that poor would a disciple be if he did not struggle to outdo the master. And that phrase is actually from the great Leonardo da Vinci. And
that's awesome.
that is something we should all say, should all bring in and think about is, yes, we have our mentors, we have our our influencers, but we should endeavor to outdo them all, because a poor repayment to the master would it be should we not attempt that. And, you know, if you want to talk about a saying, a slogan, a phrase, or something that has stood the test of time in the world of business and development, you're going to be hard pressed to find something. I mean, I'm guessing I can probably go back and find some stuff from Aristotle that was older, but this is Leonardo da Vinci, probably one of the greatest minds who have ever walked the earth, that used that exact same mentality. So you know, learned a ton from this person, and decided XYZ in this shadow, I am done, and I need to promote myself elsewise. And as a true master of whatever art, that is what any master should want, is their pupil / disciple to take that art and just go further than we ever dreamed possible.
Well, thank you, man. That's awesome. And to tell you the truth, I had no idea that Leonardo DiCaprio was so wise. And, I mean, those are words to live by for sure.
His time on the Titanic was very
the name was
empowering.
Leonardo da Vinci.
Oh, Da Vinci. Okay.
Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah, his Da Vinci's time on the Titanic was very, very empowering for him. I get it.
I'm just telling you, that bitch could have moved and he could have got on that door.
Seriously, come on, man.
The history's greatest monster. I get it.
That's funny.
So
Yes,
Steve,
indeed.
so Steve, I gotta warn everybody. If your kids are watching or listening, send them to bed, because we're about to talk about Grimwood Hollow real quick. We've been on for a long time,
right.
but we got to talk about Grimwood Hollow before we stop,
Okay.
because your work there is ridiculous. So,
all right. Well, thank you.
Grimwood Hollow.
This is not Grimwood Hollow, but this is another thing I do.
Oh, I thought this was all Grimwood Hollow stuff here.
So, okay. So those first couple photos, I can just run through those really fast if you want.
Oh, totally,
All right,
please.
let's go
Yeah.
back to those so we can hear about them. Yeah, good
So,
job.
well, just real quick. I love old sideshows and freak shows from the early 1900s, and I love the sideshow gaffs and displays. So these are my custom sideshow gaffs that I used to make and sell, and I still do occasionally. So these are really authentic shrunken heads and what are called pickled punks and different sideshow gaffs that I used to make and sell. And I sell it under the name Autumn's Oddities and have a Facebook page for that. So that's just a fun little side project that I've done throughout the years.
Pretty cool and absolutely terrifying. So, all right. So now we are on the haunted. Go back.
So this, the haunted vineyard.
And to the right, does that not remind you of the pigmen from Doctor Who? The New York building of the Empire State.
Look, I would say this is head and shoulders above the stuff that's been on Doctor Who lately.
Yes, I mean, well, lately we're not going to go into that. That's far too political. I'm not touching it. But up and to the right there, that top right hand corner, looking at that right there, and yes, it has far more detail and it's far more realistic than anything they provided. But that reminds me of the Pigmen, on a flash instance from Doctor Who, which both West and I are rather fervent Doctor Who fans up until recently, we'll say.
Nice. So yeah,
cool.
I haven't talked a lot about my Halloween stuff yet, but the short story of it is I've been literally doing Halloween attractions since I was 8 years old. I started doing yard displays literally when I was 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
They evolved a lot throughout the years, especially after I started doing special effects for movies. Then I started getting way more elaborate with my yard displays, but the goal was to always do a professional walkthrough haunted house. And I finally did that in 2002. This is literally the 20-year anniversary of when I started my professional haunted attraction. And it was called the Haunted Vineyard because we literally did it at a 100-year-old dilapidated ghost town winery that had been closed for like 50 years. And it was the most creepy location ever. So we called it the Haunted Vineyard. And those were just a few of the hundreds of custom masks I did for the Haunted Vineyard. So these are everything at our haunted house, everything was made from scratch. We wanted to create the most unique haunt ever with no store-bought props, no store-bought costumes. In fact, to tell you the truth, our costumes were the costumes from John Carpenter's The Ghost of Mars. We actually we were able to do a trade, and we got all the costumes for Ghost of Mars. We had a bunch of the armor from Army of Darkness. We had props.
This is my boomstick
in there. What's that?
This is my boomstick.
Yeah. So anyway, we tried to create basically almost everything from scratch for the Haunted Vineyard, including those masks that you see right there. So those are just a few examples of some of the masks I made over the years.
That's awesome. That is ridiculous.
That is pretty freaking wicked.
Thank you.
And you do a lot of 3D modeling stuff too, right?
Yeah, there was, I think, just one photo I threw in there or something of a 3D sculpture I did of Jason Voorhees from Part 4, the final chapter, which is one of my favorite Jasons because he's just so ridiculous looking.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, I did a 3D sculpture of him, and then I don't know if you can
I see it.
But
that's awesome.
Okay, there we go.
There it is.
I'm like, wait, I lost you for all of a sudden.
I did a 3D print of him.
Dude, that is super cool.
Thanks. Yeah, it was fun. I always nerded out on the special effects on Friday the 13th Part 4. In fact, one of my friends worked with the great Tom Savini and was part of his crew on Part 4. And I just always loved the effects work they did on that one. So I thought it'd be fun to do a digital sculpt of Jason.
Yeah, that is ridiculous. That's the amount of detail that goes into that is just insane. That is awesome.
Thanks, man.
So, next we got here.
Wait a minute. So wait a minute. He brought up, for the first time, he brought up Tom Savini.
Well, yeah, of course.
So, I mean, Tom Savini he's Night of the Living Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He is all the things that scare you into the night. That's him.
Yeah, he's what they call the Godfather of Gore is kind of one of the nicknames for him. But he did most of the iconic horror films, slasher films from the 70s and 80s. Starting with the first really big project he did was Dawn of the Dead with George Romero. I think he just helped out a little bit on Night of the Living Dead. But Dawn of the Dead was like his first really big project. And then he did a ton of movies. Of course, he did the original Friday the 13th. He did The Prowler. Day of the Dead,
Yeah.
Creep Show was one of his biggest films, which
Well,
is
Creep Show
absolutely one of my
Creep Show was a
favorites.
big one. Creep Show was one that really kind of blew up. That
Creep
I
Show,
don't want to say that
I
nobody
love.
expected, but it was something that I mean, it wasn't expected
yeah.
in the
It's
genre
one
that
of
it
my
was.
favorite
I
horror
mean,
movies. Absolutely.
he is up here, man. You have worked with and done stuff with, you know, the top of the trade.
I didn't work with Tom
the
Savini.
anchors, the mouth, everything. It's amazing.
I've been very fortunate to work with a lot of really big effects people in the industry, but I never worked with Tom Savini. I've had friends that worked with him. I've met him and talked with him a number of times. We have mutual friends and people we've worked with. But I definitely have been fortunate to work with a lot of other iconic effect artists in this industry. It's been crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's been good. I mean, your original mentor we were talking about earlier. I mean, he has pushed a lot of play into it as well. West, I don't know how many more slides you have for us, but I think
dude, we've been going for like 3.5 hours. So, Steve, I feel bad for taking so much of your time. We honestly we could create a whole podcast just on the stuff you have to talk about. We haven't even begun to scratch the surface of the Grimwood Hollow stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, we could talk for a long time just about that alone.
Yeah, it's you guys, if you want to just show a couple clips really quick, we could always do another show sometime. This is just my yard haunt that me and my wife do.
Yeah.
And it's all custom made. We make everything from scratch. There's animatronic characters, sculpted tombstones. We did a whole walk-in. That's all hand sculpted, molded, created characters that we added last year. And it's just we did a walk-in immersive event last year. And it was crazy. But yeah, if people are really interested in seeing more about Grimwood Hollow, they can always go check out the YouTube channel and watch some videos and stuff. But these are just some couple little photos to give you a little taste of kind of the stuff that we do in our yard.
Hey, Steve, I absolutely want to have you back. There is tons more to your story. We never even got through your story to get to Disney.
We have so many tangents.
I want to hear, and that our viewers want to hear. But I think tonight's not the night. And next week we have our 100th. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff. As far as we're going to be a lot more restricted on time next week. So I don't want to invite you back next week, but I want to get you back on, and I want to get you back on soon.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get a time set that free for your schedule, free for our schedule. Actually, screw that. We'll free our schedule.
Yeah.
And work our time around you, because there is so much here and so much valuable data, and that we're going to go through, not so much just to talk about your time there, but I want to break this up into things that are valuable to our viewers who watch us for helping grow their businesses.
Sure.
And the determination in finding the thing you love and getting in your niche, and those type of aspects and attributes that you are going to bring to the table. I really want to circle back on all of this when we have the bandwidth to execute, to pull it off and hit those verticals that really drive this home.
Cool. That sounds great, man. Anytime, you guys. As you know, I love to talk about this stuff. It's a blast. It's fun hanging with you guys, having some rum and just chilling out and chatting. So just anytime you guys want, man, let me know.
I was going to grab the little plastic cup, but the fact that this thing is almost empty, is a far greater testament to the amount of why the rum is gone.
It's true. We have killed a lot of rum tonight, and that's saying something.
So, Steve, I can't thank you enough for being on, my friend. I cannot wait. You need to connect with me through Facebook so we can stay in contact outside of things. But I want to have you back on, and it won't be next week, but the week after, I think we need to circle right back to it and just pick this up. We'll all get drunk beforehand, so that we're right where we are now, and we could just pick up and go.
It sounds like a plan.
Because there's a lot of stuff here that I think a lot of our viewers really want to know. And there's a lot of determination in your story that I want to pull out. I want to Oprah the hell out of you and pull that out to share with people who may be looking at it. Doesn't have to be in the visual effects or anything. It could literally be in the mutual insurance bonds. And if that's where their passion is, how to drive that to take their business to the next level and how to push and promote themselves, and not necessarily promote even, but to encourage them to pursue their passion. And Steve, I think you're probably one of the best people I've ever seen that shares that knowledge or that exemplification of pursuing your passion.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I really do. That's super nice of you. And again, I mean, I've just had a different path than other people. You know, everybody just kind of goes in different directions. Mm-hmm. We all have our jobs. I'm not saving lives on this planet. I'm just creating art, and it happens to be some fun art that people enjoy, and that's really the extent of it. You know, and I feel blessed. I feel insanely blessed.
People on this planet that will say art has saved their lives. So don't sell yourself short just yet.
Hey, if it brings joy to people, that's all I care about. All I've ever wanted to do was entertain people with my art and bring some joy to them. So if that's happened, then awesome.
Well, in the wise words of Cletus McFarland, hell yeah, brother.
Well, cool, you guys. Thank you so much for having me. I had a blast, and we'll definitely do this again soon.
Absolutely. We'll get you on the schedule. Literally, when I say on the schedule, it's not going to be some time down the future. It's going to be not next week because we have our 100th, but just after that, I want you back on. So not next week, the week after that, I want you back on. We're going to continue. Why is all the rum gone?
Exactly. Steve, we'll talk to you soon, man.
I've been Dave. That's been Steve. And over on the far end, that's been West. And that's tonight for the Underdog Journey. This is wrapping up episode 99.
99.
Live from the Hofbräu House, Columbus. Come visit us. We're going to be hosting a beer stein holding competition immediately following the podcast next week. Get down there, be square, have a great time, and shalom and good evening to you all.
Sláinte.
Take care, everyone.